Yep, I think we are live.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chalas, what do you like to be called?
Yeah, just Charles.
Just Charles? All right, so let me see if I understand the context of the debate. From what I've read of your comments, you basically were saying that scientific theory contradicts
I'm getting some
What was that?
I'm getting some looping. Wait. Oh, never mind. I had the video open.
Oh,
Okay.
no wonder. But
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
from what I understand, you were saying in your comments, you typed a couple of them, that scientific theory contradicts natural law, or there's a contradiction between the two. Or was
I
it
guess
a
I
little
don't know
bit
what you mean
more?
by natural law. I think there's a
Contradiction between the idea of observing nature and using that as the ultimate method of finding truth, and the scientific method. Or not necessarily that there's a distinction between the two or a contradiction between the two, but if you want to attain knowledge, then you need to use the scientific method. And insofar as you're observing nature, insofar as you're looking at your own experiences, you need to abide by the scientific method if you want to understand the underlying truth behind things.
So my open and counter argument to that is, you do understand that the scientific method was directly derived from nature, correct?
Sure. I mean, that's possible.
I mean, let's take one specific branch of science, astronomy, okay? Astronomy is literally defined as the study of stars, or biology is defined as the study of, bio. Science itself was crafted based off of natural law. It wasn't called science back then. It was called a bunch of madmen, staring at the moon for 30 days straight. But eventually this basis
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, I think in the beginning it was called something like natural philosophy or something to that effect.
That's the thing. It wasn't called anything because, again, and all you have to do is observe nature. Most people, they wake up, they go through their daily routine, rather that is work, school, playing with their friends, etc. They come home, they eat, they sleep, they rinse and repeat. Most people don't really deviate from what is normal. So when you had a bunch of weird guys that became obsessed with knowledge and they went out and they tried to figure out how all this shit worked, it wasn't called anything. At the time, it didn't have a word. It was called a bunch of weird guys studying the trees, right? But eventually, when it was established that what they were doing had some type of consistent result, that's when a defined word was made for what they were doing. You call it the scientific method, the scientific theory, etc. But all of that originates from nature itself. And in the human realm, humans, all the scientific method is human beings simply creating a step-by-step process. Give me 1 second. Creating a step-by-step process so that regular people can essentially learn. They know a way to get what they want to know from nature itself into their regular everyday lives. Now, obviously, most people don't have the free time, don't have the patience, etc., whatever it may be, to go out and literally watch the moon for 30 days straight to make the lunar cycle on their own. That's why we got telescopes, we got human invented tools that make this process a little bit easier. But understand, The scientific theory itself originates from nature. The men and women that made the category of science, because science is an umbrella term, right? You got different types of sciences. I listed two, biology and astronomy. Science is an umbrella term, and this umbrella term was created as a way, again, for people that have the knowledge to show regular people how you get from nature, the knowledge straight from nature, into your everyday lives. So essentially what I'm saying is it all originates from nature, all of it, including the scientific method, theory, etc. That's why I made that video where I was showing that all symbols that you see in your everyday lives, they have an origin in nature. I was going to make another one where I showed pictures of hawks flying, and then I was going to like have my friend Photoshop some airplanes below so people can see the correlation. It's all originated in nature.
Okay, so I guess there are a few things to get to there. I do want to talk a bit more about finding symbols, because I think, or finding symbols in nature, because I think that can illustrate a big part of the difference between scientific reasoning and just observing nature. So I guess I should start off by saying that when I talk about the scientific method, I'm not talking about it in exactly the way that you might talk about it in a high school class, but I'm also not talking about it in such a broad way that I would include, I guess.
Take your time.
I'm not sure, because the things that you were laying out there seem a bit primitive. Primitive in the sense of we aren't dealing with math yet. We aren't dealing with variability necessarily. We aren't dealing with.
We don't know that math exists yet from observing the moon yet, is what you're saying. Because there's math there,
yeah,
we just don't know the mechanics of it yet.
Right. And when you want, so when I talk about the scientific method, what I'm talking about is formulating your hypothesis, testing your hypothesis, building upon past research, so what people have done in the past, what other scientists have done in relation to your hypothesis, designing experiments and analyses that are best suited to either disprove or prove your hypothesis, and figure out the underlying processes behind things. So I'm talking about collecting data and then making that process of data collection known so other people can look at what you're doing and tell you if there's anything wrong with it. I mean, performing like statistical analyses, like doing math to tell, okay, is there actually an association between this? Or is there a statistical difference between this and another thing?
Is that not what observing nature is doing? You're literally going outside in nature and observing what works and what doesn't work and what gives you the most consistent results for whatever it is you're trying to do. I mean, one of my most popular examples is, people that keep asking, how do you get chicks? Literally just walk outside, observe the people that are getting chicks, observe what works, what doesn't work, and then apply it to your craft. And then you become a part of nature and you go out and you essentially do what you just said. Through trial and error, you see what works, what doesn't work, what you should continue to elevate, and what you should continue to discard. Now, people try to make the argument Oh, go ahead.
I guess the problem that I might take with that example is there are probably hundreds of tiny factors that you can look at in any single interaction. Tons of things that, you go outside, you look at someone talking to a girl, and then it becomes hard to isolate what specific factors are important. It might be some certain way they're talking. It might be some way that they're making eye contact that just,
See, what you just said, right?
Crazy.
What you just said, I want to highlight that point. See, truth is simple. You already know what the most important factor is. The most important factor for that specific context is actually talking to the girl in the first place. Now, from what I've read of your comments,
Right.
you said that you're like in your early 20s, late teens, so you're either still in high school or you've recently experienced high school. You and me both know, man, most of these guys, they ain't talking to no woman, man. They don't, and if they do, it's online. But as far as actually walking up to a chick they like and talking to her in person, you and me both know almost nobody's doing that. So you even saying something in person, that's already a major thing going in your favor.
Right.
So we can, but if we were doing like a scientific study on this, what we would do is we would measure all the individual factors. Ideally, in reality, it's actually very difficult to do because like dating science is one of those things where I feel like all the research that's published on is.
Well, see, this is, and that right there is the problem. Dating science. See, what men collectively as a whole don't understand, and this is why you have to go out into nature to see the truth with your own eyes. The scientific method, that will give you very limited results. The scientific method is essentially you taking an infant and putting them in the first grade, right? It gets them walking, it gets them on their stepping stones. For more advanced things like the dating world, this is going to sound crazy. You have to actually break all the rules that you've been taught since birth. You have to get rid of the scientific method. Why? There's no way to say this without sounding a certain way, but women respond to how you make them feel emotionally. They don't respond to how you make them feel logically. So trying to...
I would say probably true for both.
Well, where I'm going with this, right? If we take the scientific method and we take 1,000 different guys, right, that are successful with women, I'm not talking about rounding up a bunch of losers that don't even know how to say hi to a chick. I'm talking about people that have a high success rate with women. The only common variable you're going to see there is that they're actually talking to the woman. Because unfortunately, women care a lot about what other people think. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna finish this and then I got you, right?
Yeah.
Women care a lot about what other people think, and guys do as well to some degree, but women, they kind of base their whole lives off of their reputation, right? So they're not gonna say out loud what these 1,000 guys are doing that makes them feel a certain way because they don't want to get judged. The only way you're going to consistently see what's going on is if you go out into nature and you either observe what's going on and you put 2 and 2 together yourself, or you play the game yourself and through trial and error you see what's working. And it's not just with women in dating, it's with a lot of things that have their own process of doing things, but it's always a natural process, right? I'll give you an example. Our sun, right? So you have the center of our sun, you have the chromosphere, the photosphere, and the corona, right? The scientific method, the basics of thermodynamics, says that the farther you are away from the heat source, the cooler it's supposed to be, correct? Well, why is it that the corona is millions of miles away from the actual sun itself? People got this misconception that what they see outside is the sun. That's the photosphere. The photosphere is thousands of miles away. My bad, I said millions earlier, but each atmosphere of the sun is thousands of miles away from the sun. So why is it that the corona is the farthest away from the sun, but it's the hottest atmosphere out of all three? This directly contradicts the scientific method, the basics of thermodynamics, because it's a natural event that consistently occurs everywhere in the universe. There's stars everywhere, right? There's quintillions of those motherfuckers. So essentially what my point is, The scientific method itself is based off of nature. And just like what you see in nature, okay, you take a seed, it eventually becomes roots, it eventually becomes a tree. The scientific method is the seed. It's the basics, right? But you can completely discard that and go straight to the source and see how things really are on your own. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess I want to get to both of those things. So as far as the sun goes, I would kind of see it in the opposite way. I would see it as you have observing nature, which is just looking at the sun and see, okay, I see this yellow thing, and when it comes up, there's heat, and when it goes down, you have there's less heat and there's less light, right? But when you actually have the scientific method, when you understand thermodynamics, when you understand the way heat works, when you put these things in a lab and create testable ideas of how they work, confirm or disconfirm them, something that you really can't do unless you're either dealing with labs, you're dealing with complex math, or you're reading people who do, then you're not going, if you don't do any of that stuff, you're not going to know how the sun works, you're not going to know how any of the stars work without the scientific method. And then to speak on the dating thing, so I think we both agree on what the most important factor in dating is, just talk to people. Yeah, but I think that most people outside of the lens of science.
Sorry,
I don't think that's outside of the lens of scientific research. I think that you can look at a bunch of people. You can have a defined sample of people, and you give them different strategies on how they can date. You have some of them talk to a bunch of people, and you have some of them sit around and do nothing. And what you're probably going to see is that the people who are talking to people are a lot more successful. You can do surveys, and you can survey of 1,000 men. You can ask them, how much are you actually talking to women? And then you can look at the relationship between people who maybe some of the people will say that I don't talk to them, I'm scared of them, and so they tend to get very little. They aren't able to pick up any girls, and then you get to the ones who talk to everyone all the time. They're constantly talking to people, and they might have a lot more. And then you can actually quantify the association between those two things, and you can probably tell, just based on that alone, that what is the most important factor. And so it's not like it's contradicting science. I think in both of these cases, the scientific method works beautifully.
The main reason I worded it the way I did is because the last thing people need to be doing is doing a bunch of research on how to get chicks. They should just walk out the house and start getting chicks. Now, that applies to a lot of different things. Earlier you said there's like a bunch of different tiny variables that you can't isolate through observation alone. I disagree entirely.
Right.
You have to, this is where experience comes in. This is where the trial and error comes in. People tens of thousands of years ago knew how the sun worked very well. Now you might be saying, how was that possible when they didn't have telescopes, they didn't have laboratories, they didn't have encyclopedias? Simple. They went straight to the source and they observed nature. Some cavemen took some sticks together and started rubbing it to create fire. That's why the sun eventually became known as the eternal lake of fire and lava. Modern Christianity describes a specific object as an eternal lake of fire and lava. So now obviously we know the sun is not literal fire. It's, oxygen, nitrogen, a bunch of different chemicals battling together to create its own unique thing. Nonetheless, people.
Yeah, we know that, but people who existed, 10,000 years ago might not have known that. They might have seen the sun and they see this thing that looks vaguely like fire, and they can tell that it's a lot easier for me to make fire when the sun's there, and they conclude
it's a bit more to that. This also, began to be used in hunting because eventually people became intelligent enough to realize, okay, the sun is always alive, the sun is always hot. Oh wow, if a human being is alive, their body is warm. Wait a minute, so we can know if that wolf we just shot is dead, you know, based on if the body is cold or not, then we can start cooking it for supper. So the thing about nature is that one little tiny discovery eventually leads to more, to more, to more, to more, to more. You know, eventually it gets to the point where you're learning whatever it is you want to learn. But you have to go straight to the source first. The main problem with the scientific theory...
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
If you see other people making fire and then you decide to build off of that, then
That's the
I guess
point.
you wouldn't necessarily be going straight to the source. You would be going to other people, looking at what they're doing, and then building off of what they have.
Human beings are a part of nature, though. Humans, trees, the planets, the sun, the stars, it's all a part of nature. When you observe other human beings, you're observing nature, if that makes sense. The difference, however, is it's one thing to observe people and see the results they're getting. You're observing nature. You're observing people in their natural habitat. When you go on Google, when you go on Wikipedia, when you go to institutions, you're going straight to man for knowledge, and the problem with this is twofold. One, if you just go straight to the source, you already know what is true because you're seeing it directly in nature. Versus if you go to man for knowledge, you don't know how they got the information that they got. You don't know if they're telling you the truth. They could be lying to you intentionally. Versus if you just go straight to the source. I mean, hell, if you meet this person in real life, you could probably tell very easily if they're lying to you or not. And then the second part of the problem is... What was that?
I just wanted to say, when you're reading something, when you go onto Google and you find some, like let's say that you want to look up, let's say that you see some news story about some study, and like I'm in the process of writing a video response to some study that's getting passed around. It's possible for you to look at the study and then look at the sources that they cite. And if they don't cite any sources, forget about it. You don't need to worry about them. You don't listen to them. Go to the ones that cite a source. Go to the source. Track down the study, and then you can analyze the study, and you can see.
Why do all that when you can just go straight to the source, though? See, the whole problem with studies is, again, you don't know how they collected the data. So the data could be collected incorrectly. What was that?
In many cases, you do know how they collected the data because you have specific guidelines that they need to explain. Like this is the study we got it from this town. We gave them $5 to participate in the study, and we did this on behalf of some university, on behalf of some grant. And then it goes through peer review, where other scientific professionals are looking at it and being sure that they're reporting everything properly.
You see, that's just one problem, though. So even if you verified where they got the data from, where they got the test subjects from, etc., or they don't call them test subjects anymore. They call it, what do they call them? Control groups, right? They got to be politically correct now. So even if you know where they got the control groups...
Control groups are just like a control is in comparison to a treatment. So like let's say that you want to test the efficacy of some medicine, right? You would have a treatment group, you give them the actual medicine, and then you have a control group that maybe you give them a sugar pill.
Exactly. You know, because they switched the whole terminology with scientific terms, because people were getting offended. Oh my God, they're calling us test subjects. Whatever, that doesn't matter. So even if you verify... What was that?
I don't think there was ever an issue with the word test subject.
Well, there was.
And people still use the word subject at the time.
There was. People were complaining. But, I mean, that doesn't matter. That's apples to oranges. So even if you verified where you got the data from, the test subjects, you know, the whole 9 yards. The second and most obvious problem is that if the data is incorrect or inconsistent, it's much better, again, right? In order to fact check all of these different studies that contradict each other, you can skip all of that and go straight to the source. Do your own study, except you're doing it straight in nature. Now, you can make the argument that it's going to take longer. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So like you're saying about taking longer, you would be taking longer. You would be taking more of your own resources. Like when you're reading a scientific study, you can look at a study that involves millions of participants. You're never going to be able to recreate that on your own.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, you can. Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you what I told you
but you can do it in a scientific way that isolates the variables.
Yes, you can. No, I'm about to tell you. I'm about to give you a real life example and something you can see right now if you go outside straight to the source. So the people that originally, you know, created the concept of science and thesis and scientific theory, etc. What do you think is something that they did in order to verify this directly? Excuse me. Because everything that exists, they follow the laws of the universe. They follow natural law, etc., even if they think natural law doesn't apply to them. When these people establish the countries that you live in, the religions that people follow, etc., that is a massive global experiment, you could call it. It's not really an experiment because we at this point know factually the end result of all these things, but you could call this like a global experiment, and they're still doing it to this day with stuff like Discord and Instagram, and you know, so you absolutely can in 2023. You probably can't make your own country, obviously, but you can definitely make your own app, you know, that millions of people can download if you got the right advertisement, you know. You absolutely can duplicate, you know, this on a million-man scale if you take the time to do so, right? You'll directly be putting your stuff out there in nature for a bunch of other people to use, and then because it's your app, you can absolutely observe and see. But the thing about that is, right, it goes back to what my opening argument was. And this may offend some people, or maybe not the people that watch my videos, but people for the most part are exactly the same. There's small, minute differences between people. When you start to see individuals, that's like the top 1% of people. Everyone else, for the most part, they're pretty much the same. And we have tens of thousands of history and events that have happened in nature since time immemorial that directly proves this, right? I mean, why do people go to war? For the same things. They want to feel like they're going to live a better life, or, you know, they don't like whoever they think is in charge of them, etc. It's for the same reason, or they want to get more women, because soldiers are associated with getting lots of chicks, right? So it's all the same, for the same reason, over the last 10, 20, 30,000 years. But you absolutely, because of where we live, you absolutely can duplicate these things in mass. You know, you can make your own app, you can start a social media channel. There's many ways where you can observe millions of people at once nowadays.
Right, but there are a few things that you need to take into account. So, like, let's say that you do the thing that you were just suggesting. You build an app, it gets millions of users, and then you try to analyze them to figure out, I guess, you know, what they have in common. So let's say that you hypothetically are wildly successful, you manage to get millions of people. The sample that you have is going to be restricted by the fact that it is what in science is called a self-selecting sample. people might vary. People can vary, and only a certain number of people, maybe people whose personalities make them go deep on the App Store, are going to end up buying your app. People who find it appealing, only those people are going to be the ones who end up buying your app. And so what you're left with is an incomplete sample compared to what all is out there. You can own, like, and to make it even simpler, like, you need to have a phone if you want to get an app. So you're not going to be sampling the people who can't afford phones. And so what you're going to be left with is an incomplete sample that isn't representative of everything that's out there. And I guess to speak to your idea that people are all the same, I think that there's a lot of variability, and you can measure how much things vary. You can measure, and some of these measurements aren't very good, but you can measure things like people's tendency to respond different ways in different situations.
I like what Kirby said in the chat, right? Most people are the same, which is why mob mentalities exist. I think
that people tend to be influenced by each other, and I think that creates an artificial sense.
People tend to be influenced by each other, so all you have to do is influence the top of that specific group, and then it's a trickle-down effect.
Well, not necessarily the top. Because
the top of that specific, I don't mean the top of like humanity, I mean the top of the specific group you're trying to market to. So if you want to get a bunch of people to in the training world, you know, we call this the bodybuilding snake oil salesman. If you want to get a bunch of people to buy a bunch of crap like protein powders that don't do anything for you, you market to who that specific group of people perceive to be at the top of the muscle hierarchy, and that would be bodybuilders. You get bodybuilders to believe that they need protein powders, and then all their fans start to believe it, and then even regular people start to believe you need to eat a lot of protein in order to build muscle, when in reality you can take less protein than your grandmother and build plenty of muscle. So it's just one of those things. But you know, with teenagers, right? You get their teachers to believe certain ideologies, then they start teaching the classes that, and then boom, you know, or social media. So I mean, that's the major reason I say people for the most part are pretty much the same, because nothing has really changed, right? The actual power hierarchy of the world hasn't changed. It's just that with modern technology, things can happen a lot quicker than I mean, if you wanted to cause half of the problems you cause right now, you know, it would have taken you years to manufacture that. But nowadays, man, you know, just a click of a button, get enough people, you know, spreading the shit on social media, and you got worldwide chaos within minutes, you know?
Right. Okay, so to the idea that influencing people at the top of the hierarchy will trickle down into affecting the behavior of everyone, I think that doesn't account for all the possible reactions that people can have. So like, you have people that, alright, so to your example of, like, of convincing a teacher of something, and then that teacher convinces the students, you can have students that pay attention. You can have students that pay attention and take the teacher's word as gospel. You can have some students that aren't even paying attention. They don't know what the heck the teacher is saying because they're doodling or something. You can have other people that are directly antagonistic to the teacher who think that, oh, I know better than the teacher, you know, about everything. The teacher is always wrong, so why am I going to listen to them, right? There's variability, and that's why you have cultures, and then you have countercultures, and then you have people in the middle. That's why you have different political factions. That's why and people might select which political faction they like more based on their own personality. Or
well, they choose which faction they like more based on their perceived differences of the faction. One of the things that, and this is why observing nature is good, because it's like, you know, one of the major reasons I've resigned from law enforcement is because in the academy, they treat you, it's us versus them. They're the enemies, you know, we're the sheepdogs, we enforce the sheep, you know what I'm saying, et cetera, et cetera. Then when you get out the academy and you actually start working, you see that the criminals and the cops are actually working together. Well, at least at the upper levels, right? You know, on the lower levels, some local drug dealer might think the cops are his enemies, but once he gets above a certain position of power, he sees they're directly working, together, I had a family member. He recently got out of prison, and he was telling me about. Actually, I don't want to get him in trouble. I'm not going to say that, but
Yeah.
it's like this with a lot more things than people realize, right? I never made my controlled opposition video because I didn't really think there was a point. It got to the point where, like, if people really need me to point this out to them, then this probably isn't the right path for them anyways. But a lot of different factions, a lot of different ideologies, a lot of different, communism versus capitalism, right? A lot of long-term followers know in middle school I was a communist because I didn't understand that communism and capitalism are the same thing. That might piss a lot of people off when they hear this video, but think about what you have happening in a capitalist society.
What do you mean?
Well, let me break it down for you. In a communist, the camera's fucking up. In a communist society, the people with money got all the power. In a capitalist society, the people with money got all the power. Now, on paper, true communism is there's no money, there's no bosses, there's no government, etc. But this never happens. And all you have to do is observe nature. Even when human beings had no official government, you still had a hierarchy. Even when human beings had no official power structure, the wise ruled the strong and the strong ruled the weak. This is natural law. So it doesn't really matter if people, want to follow the teachings of Bowles Balls or communism, capitalism, liberalism. You got to observe nature. In nature, the wise are always at the top, the strong are at the middle, and everybody else is at the bottom. That's why no matter how you try to... That's why all ideologies eventually end up in the same place. The wise are at the top, the strong are in the middle, and everybody else is at the bottom. You can make the argument that we got better living conditions in capitalism, but, that's apples to oranges. The end result was the same. But, and I know that comparison is going to piss a lot of people off because so some of the people that still watch my channel, they're like hardcore communists, right? So, they be thinking I'm one of their brothers, right? Nah, I haven't been a communist since I was 13. But I digress.
But you had the profile picture forever.
Yeah, because you know why I kept that I made a video talking about it, but I'll just quickly summarize it. You know why I kept that profile picture? Because that was one of my greatest lessons. The person that I thought was a genius didn't actually do any of the things that he did by himself. He had a machine behind him, right? The person I'm talking about is Stalin. When I was 13, I read about this bank robber guy that became the dictator of the second most powerful country in the world. I'm like, oh shit, this guy's a genius. And then as I got a little bit older, not that much older, I was like 14, but as I learned more information, as I went out and observed nature, I realized that he didn't do any of this shit by himself. He had a machine behind him since day one. And at that point, it's either, okay, do you keep following a false ideology, or do you suck up your ego and your pride and admit that what you was following was incorrect? I chose to do number two, but I kept the profile picture as a lesson. Things are never as they seem. America was helping, the Soviet Union during the war, and this is what I mean. On paper, communists and capitalists hate each other, but at the top, they're helping each other against a mutual enemy, Japan. So that should tell you something.
Well, that's just like you have ideological differences, but it's possible to put those differences aside when you have a common interest, when there's a common interest between states. So there's nothing like out of the ordinary of Soviet Union and the United States decided to team up when they're both in opposition with the Axis powers. There's nothing out of the ordinary there.
But why are
I want to speak a bit about the notion that I guess everything is the same. Capitalism is the same. Communism is the same, and
because it's all derived. It's all derived from natural law. All these ideologies are derived straight from nature. Now, unfortunately, the people that rule over you, they kind of take the truth and they sprinkle bullshit on top of each of these ideologies. That's why nobody gets anywhere. But the main structure of it is based off of nature. The wise are at the top, the strong are at the middle, and everybody else is at the bottom. That's straight from nature.
But, okay, so a lot of these things are debated anthropologically. So how egalitarian were hunter-gatherer societies compared to agricultural societies? How unequal were feudal societies compared to capitalist societies today? How unequal were communist societies?
You do know feudal societies are the same as capitalist societies, right? In feudalism, you had the king who had all the money, then you had his dukes who had all the money, then you had his barons who had all the money, then you had his knights that had all the money, then you had everybody else that had to do what they were told to get some money because they had no fucking money. There's
variability in different societies about how things are, how power is structured and how the government will need to respond to public demand.
Power is structured exactly the same way. The people that go straight to the source get all the power, get all the money, get all the resources. The people that don't go to the source have to go to man to get the money and the power and the resources. That's literally what all ideologies are derived of, natural law.
So I want to go back to that in a second, but I want to finish what I was saying about...
oh, my bad. I didn't know I cut you off.
About, the differences in structures between societies. So, every society that we have today obviously has, a system of government that somewhat resembles the other. But there are differences in how power is allocated, and there are differences in how each society will need to respond to public demand and, public outrage, things like that. So in some societies, let's say a society where women don't have the right to vote, the government has, because of that, will have no reason to take women's interests into account. They won't need to, they won't worry about, if I do something that all the women hate, then I'm going to get voted out.
Did you decide who your high school leaders were? The children in your high school that led your high school, that were the leaders, that had all the power, did you decide who they were?
People...
The obvious answer is no, correct?
I would assume that usually it's going to be the collective that decides it.
No. I'm going someplace with this. When you got your first job, did you decide who your boss was? When you walk outside every day, do you decide who your police officers are? So,
I have power in deciding who my local representatives are, my mayors. I can vote.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we had an incident in Baltimore, and this is why going out and observing nature is good, right? We had an incident in Baltimore, 2015, the Freddie Gray riots, where the Baltimore City Police decided we're not going to do our jobs. And the mayor was like, you better do your jobs. And the cops was like, no, we're not going to do our jobs. And that was it. The police showed the mayor exactly who had the power. This is why I laugh when people think a president can take away all the guns. How is he going to take away all the guns? See, a video that I always recommend to my friends and new people in my Discord is a video called Rules for Rulers. Now, I was surprised. Rules for Rulers has something like 10 million views, but it's one of the few videos that's popular that tells you what the fuck is going on. Because people got this misconception that if you're the king...
This is Bruce Bono the Mosquito. So he was someone who I was kind of... who I was citing just a few minutes ago relating to the differences.
He knows his stuff. Don't get me wrong. He knows his stuff. When he made the comparison to how a king only rules with his keys, and his keys are the dukes, and I just talked about this, right? It's the same thing with modern society because, again, the power structure doesn't change. The wise rule the strong, and the strong rule the weak. Why is this relationship so important? Because the strong may not be as intelligent as you, but they're the ones that are enforcing your laws. So if you lose control of your keys, your strong soldiers and police officers, you've lost control of your power. The main reason I asked you if you could elect the people that led your high school, your boss, and your police officers is because the whole voting thing is... There's no way for me to say this without sounding like I'm batshit crazy, but the right people will understand where I'm going with this, and the wrong people just never will. The voting is not what puts people in positions of power. These people just... The Roman Republic was a democracy, but that wasn't no fucking democracy. Julius Caesar had all the power, but only with the loyalty of his keys. What happened after Julius died and the soldiers rebelled? The soldiers had control of the kingdom. This is what I'm trying to say, right? What people have been taught is power is not what is actually power. And all you have to do is go straight to the source, nature. And nature might makes right. In the real world, might makes right. Why do you obey police officers? Because if you don't, you know that, they're going to use some might makes right on you, and it's not going to be pretty, And you don't elect any of those police officers. Now, example that you gave with the Middle East, that's basically the same thing. Because women could easily have the right to vote if that's what they wanted, if they band together and made their own army and forced the government to let them vote, but they don't do that. Why don't they do that? See, nobody wants to admit this out loud, but a lot of people like being told what to do. Most people like being told what to do. Most people like not having to worry about choosing their leaders. Most people, as long as you take care of their food, their health, and their family, you can tell them they don't mind you telling them what to do. They don't need to vote. They don't care, And again, this is why I say...
Are you familiar with Rojava?
Say that again?
Are you familiar with Rojava? The
Rojava?
State in, I think it might Kurdish state. Yeah, I think it's a Kurdish state, somewhere in the Middle East. And I think it's close to Syria. And
never.
That's an instance where you have an army that is primarily women, and they're fighting against ISIS. They're fighting against all these other groups. I think they might be fighting Turkey.
As they should, man. Some of my favorite. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
And they have a society that's a lot more gender egalitarian than pretty much, anywhere in the Middle East, which I guess it's a low bar, but they have it's a very egalitarian system if you actually look into their system of governance. I think it bears very little resemblance to what you're laying out. You have the wise at the top, the strong in the middle, and then the weak at the bottom. They have a system where the people who are in charge locally get kind of cycled out,
Yeah, because they lost
So you
control
might
of
have
their
one
keys,
card.
so now their country is in chaos. If you lose control of your keys, see, the only time revolutions happen.
chaos.
What was that?
It's not in chaos. Obviously, they're at war. But
War is chaos. Order
but-
among chaos. War brings the
but
chaos.
what I'm saying is, if they had a less egalitarian system, it's not as though then they would not be in war. Is what I'm saying.
Here's the thing, right? Wars. I'm not going to get into that. The main point I'm trying to say here is that even after
I can
that
say a
war,
lot about war as it relates to natural law, but I guess I'll let you talk.
the power structure doesn't change. It doesn't matter how many revolution. I mean, what is the root word of revolution? Revolve. It's a cycle. Everything in nature happens in a cycle. All you have to do is go out into nature and observe, right? Same thing in the human realm. The actual power structure does not change.
You can't observe other societies. You can't observe you can't observe the way people were 10,000 years ago. And this is
You absolutely
I have
can, because
a thing
people, for
written
the
out.
most part, are exactly the same. The reasons people go to war right now are the exact same reasons they went to war 10,000 years ago, even if little nuances are different.
That's not true.
You don't
There
think that's
are
true?
differences. The reason that people go to war now, the reason that states decide to go to war is a lot more political than it used to be. And this is something that Clausewitz was writing about in the 1800s, that war is now an extension of politics. But if
War
you were to
has
go back-
always been an extension of
There's a
politics.
book called War, Peace, and Human Nature. There's a book called War, Peace, and Human Nature. I think it was edited by Douglas Fry. And there's a... okay, I remember.
The main reason,
There's a chapter in that book that suggests that war is not ubiquitous. War is not present in all places. Violence is present everywhere. But war, like actual
do you think you have more free? Do you think you have more freedom now than you did 10,000 years ago, or do you think you have more freedom 10,000 years ago?
Probably 10,000 years ago. I mean, not that I want to live there.
I'm surprised.
I
That
love the luxuries of modern day.
I'm surprised that was your answer. Okay, so you're claiming that people go to war for different things nowadays. When
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was saying that in the past, wars tended to be fought for on the basis of resource scarcity. So you might
that's the
have
same
two,
reason wars are
tribes.
fought right now. Why are we in the Middle East? Because that's where all the oil is. See what I did there?
But there's a difference between fighting for on the basis of political classes that are like when a tribe goes to war for water or for I guess some animal that they might be hunting or to steal crops or something. They're going to feed. They're going to use that food ideally to feed the tribe, to feed the army. But when we're talking about oil, we're talking about something that is specifically done for the benefit of the upper class of the military-industrial complex.
Didn't you just? That's what I just said. The power structure never changes. The wise are up here. The strong are right here. The strong are the soldiers, and the weak is everybody else. Yes, ever since day one, wars have been fought for the elites. However, in order to get regular people that don't,
That's what I'm saying.
then what's the disagreement? Like,
The disagreement would be that in tribal warfare, the wars are being fought probably more for the benefit of the entire tribe.
I think I see where our disconnect is.
Probably everyone else does too.
You think that I see where the disconnect is. So I think I know how to refute this. The main reason wars happen is exactly the same. The only thing that changes over time, but even this doesn't really change, is Regular people are fed more ideologies, more religions, more politics, more stuff that doesn't matter, so that they think that some guy on the other side of the world is their enemy, when, you know, the real enemy is that. But I'm not even going to say that, because I don't think the elite are your enemy. They're not your friends, but they're not your enemy. You know, you're voluntarily choosing to go to war for people that don't care about you. That's your free will. So, but the general power structure, again, all you have to do is observe nature. It stays exactly the same. Wars happen for the exact same reasons, even if regular people were told it's because, oh, those guys have a funny shaped nose and they're hogging all the oil or whatever, you know? And what you can do to test this is observe what happens with minorities first. Because anything they plan on doing to a global scale, they first started off with whatever group of people was the most disliked at that specific moment in time. I'll give you an example. The single mother epidemic. That started in African American communities, and 30 years ago it was considered a joke that only happened to black people. Now it's happening to everybody. There's single mother neighborhoods in white communities, Asian communities. You know, it hasn't gotten in Jewish communities yet, but it always starts with the minorities, right? You know, the whole red pill, feminism, all this shit started with minorities first. And it was treated as a joke when it was contained to a small percentage of the population. Then it eventually spread to white communities, brown communities, Latin, everywhere, right? And this also goes back to why I always say that most people are pretty much the same. Because it's only a matter of time before a new ideology festers in their brain and spreads to the ends of the earth. You know, whereas though the ruling class, you know, they already know all of this is bullshit because they're the ones that make it in the kitchen, cooking up their ideologies in the kitchen, you feel me? And where do all these ideologies come from? Straight to the source, natural law. The main basis, again, is the wise rule the strong rule the weak. It's all found in nature. That's why the wisest hunters, the hawks, the eagles, dominate the ground hunters, the cats, the lions, etc. And that's why the ground hunter, well, I mean, even on the ground, there's a reason why cats are superior hunters than dogs, while lions and leopards are superior to wolves, is because lions use their brain to hunt. Wolves, they just bark loud and chase things. Wise, strong, weak. It's all found in nature, all of it. I mean, what's the most modern political ideology, right? I don't follow this shit. What's the most modern one? Libertarianism, liberalism, or whatever? Is that what it's called? Like the most modern one?
Well, libertarianism and liberalism basically mean very different things at different times. So libertarianism is
so they're not the same?
Basically an ideology of pretty much pure capitalism. And then liberalism, in American political discourse today, when we say liberal, we just mean someone who's like a Democrat. And then but usually when we're talking about liberalism, in a more broad sense, we're talking about people like John Locke, you know, the ideology that came out at the beginning of the Enlightenment. And I guess this is something that I wanted to touch on when he said that all ideologies come from the same place.
Yes, nature.
Because I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that you can have ideology. You can have a lot of different things that come from a lot of different places. You can have ideologies that specifically exist to serve the interests of the wealthy. You can have interests that intend to. You can have ideologies that intend to help the people. You can have ideologies that might have.
Who makes these ideologies?
Might originated in books, and then rulers or people decide that they like the ideology presented in the book. I mean, I have right here The Social Contract, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. That was a book that heavily inspired the French Revolution. And and it was and a lot of the revolutions that came, in the 1600s, 1700s, were directly inspired by writers and people who.
How were most revolutions inspired by writers when, up until 200 years ago, most people didn't even know how to read?
Well, not inspired by writers in the sense that everyone read them. Inspired by writers in the sense that that was what people thought of as like, okay, this explains the ideology.
Most people didn't know how to read during the French Revolution. So how did writers inspire the French Revolution?
You can have writers, and then you can have orators that talk on behalf of the writers. I mean, that's a perfectly possible thing to do.
Why did most soldiers fight in the Vietnam War? Because they needed money.
They were
Well, and plus they needed money as well. We talked to most Vietnam vets. They say they only did it because they needed some money, which I don't know why you would join the military if you need some money. They don't get paid anything, but I get it. You need a job, you need some money, GG. Who makes these ideologies? Do you think regular people make these ideologies, or do you think the ruling class makes these ideologies?
I think it's probably a mixture of everything.
Okay. So, do you think regular people that are working a 9-to-5 job, that have no real free time, do you think they're sitting around making a bunch of different ideologies, or do you think the people making the ideologies are the ones that have a lot more free time?
I think that people who make the ideologies with the free time probably have to think a lot about what the average person who's working a 9-to-5 thinks.
Do you think they have to think a lot, or do you think they just go straight to the source, realize most people are the same, and then?
Well, I don't even know what going to the source means. If you have an ideology, you have capitalism and communism, right? You stick with those two things. You go to the source.
Okay.
How do you get differences between those two things?
I think I see where the disconnect is. Okay. So let's start off with the roots. What are all ideologies based off of? Power, right? An ideology simply describes the most ideal way to distribute that power, correct? What is the ultimate source of power in the universe? The universe itself, nature, etc. When you go to the source...
Well, I mean, we could talk specifically that the source of power is violence.
Violence is a tool. Violence is a tool of power. You can use violence to enforce your power. You wouldn't walk up to a lion unless you have a shotgun, because the lion is going to use violence to enforce its power over you. So yeah, violence is a tool of power. You're getting it a little. We still got to reel you in a bit, because you said you don't even know what the source is, which we're gonna really need to. Oh man, the source is simply.
I have this thing written out.
The source is simply.
I have this thing written out.
And nature is simply the universe itself. It sounds crazy. Well, what do you mean go to the universe to get the power, to understand the origins of power? It's all based off of the same, I know, I've said this like 20 different times. It's the truth does not contradict, and the truth is consistent. The main reason you got these people...
What does that mean? Like, here's... So as far as the truth contradicting, and the truth being consistent, do you recognize that there's tons of, that there's variability? Like let's say I make a statement, men are taller than women. a man is taller than a woman, right?
That's false because it contradicts. In order to make that not contradict, you would need to switch it to, generally speaking, men on average are taller than women.
Exactly.
It seems like nitpicking, and it seems like it's just extra, but it's not. Because what a person does in minor, they do in major. It's the little things that adds up to a person's entire character. If a person's walking around doing little tiny contradictions every day and never tries to get it in check, he's going to create bigger contradictions later. So that's just one thing. But go ahead.
I forgot my train of thought.
You were specifically, you had a refute for the truth doesn't contradict and the truth stays consistent, and you were using men and women as an example to
yeah. Basically, so it was like you said, generally speaking, men are taller than women, and I think that you need to have those kinds of qualifiers for almost any statement that you make. Mostly, like, on average, this happens. This thing happens most of the time. There's an association between this and this. There's a correlation between X and Y, but just because you know X doesn't mean you know Y. Like, you have to make those kinds of qualifiers for every statement that you make. And so saying something like, the truth is always consistent, just seems wrong because there's variability, because people are different, because
people aren't different though.
That's situations at different times.
The main reason you disagree is because you're going to man for knowledge and not source for knowledge. When you go to man for knowledge, they're always going to fool you because that's the joke. You don't need man for knowledge in the first place. Versus when you go straight to nature.
You can go to man for knowledge to find the tools that you need to tell when other people are lying, when science is wrong, when you can learn how to do math, you can learn how to do statistics, you can learn how to do science,
but
and
at
then
some
you can look
point,
at the science is up and then tell, okay, this is nonsense, this is good.
At some point, to go further, you're going to have to go straight to the source. When you observe nature and you see that truth is simple, when you observe nature and you see that truth is consistently the same, when you just see how simple things actually are, you can then begin to discard all that complicated crap that you've been taught for man. And I get it. I'm sounding elitist. I'm sounding like I'm categorizing everybody. The thing is, most people are the same. I've talked about this in other videos. Most people want a boss. Most people want a ruler. Most people want a god, a sovereign. Most people want to be told what to do. That's why it really doesn't matter what ideology you use.
It's a topic of study. There's an entire topic of study called self-determination theory. It's a part of psychology that attempts to figure out what are the basic things that make people happy. What are I think the term is basic psychological needs.
The main problem, I know the study you're talking about, the main flaw with that study is people don't say out loud what makes them happy. I'll give you a perfect example.
Well,
do you think...
You don't ask...
Go ahead.
Yes, so you don't just ask them about what makes them happy. You ask them, okay, are you happy? You look at, okay, do they have a diagnosis for like mental health problems? Have they been diagnosed for depression? You look at measures like that, and then you look at a bunch of other things that they talk about themselves. And one of the things that they have found correlates with well-being, correlates with not being diagnosed with all these mental health problems, is what they call, I think it's autonomy, relatedness, and competence. And so competence is just like the feeling that you're good at something, that you have there's something that you can do. Relatedness is you having other people that you can relate to, that you can have friendships with, you can have relationships with, things like that. And then autonomy is feeling like you're in control of your own decisions. That's something that's actually
You're in
very
control
important.
of all your decisions. I mean, that's not a feeling. You control everything that happens to you. Most people don't want to admit
But
that.
there are degrees of control. So like you can, you have control over, what you choose to eat. You have complete control over that. If you choose between eating, drinking water and drinking milk, that's a very simple decision. You can just make that choice right now. But if you want to choose between, eating a thing of, a bag of chips and eating caviar and eating some very expensive food, then your choices are a lot more limited based on your circumstance, how much money you actually have.
You can use your free will to improve your circumstance and then eat whatever you look, bro. You know how much one of these smoothies costs? It costs $10 each, and I just drank 2 of these things. This ain't no game, bro. What, bro? Come on, man.
But you're limited by your circumstances. You need it's not easy to
Nothing in life worth getting is easy. This is the difference between the strong and the wise and the weak. The wise, they don't complain. The wise, right? Physical manifestation is the final step. The wise think, this is where I want to be. The wise speak, this is where I want to be. And then the wise manifest in their everyday life exactly where it is that I did this with the dude. This was last year, right? I was driving. I'm like, I want to live around here. And now I live around here. So, it's you control everything that happens to you. And I know people are going to, but Chris, you're saying...
What if you wanted to live in Beverly Hills?
You could.
What if you wanted to live in Beverly Hills?
You could.
It would be very,
It doesn't matter if it's difficult. Don't think if it's, listen, if you want to do it and you use your free will and your energy is strong enough to make it happen, it will happen. The problem is people they have like a checklist of why they can't do something, right? Oh, it's too expensive. I need to get a car. This, that, and then they don't do it. And then they fail. The people that rule over you, they never thought that it would be impossible to have such control over the large masses of people. They just sat it down and got it done. There's very minimal complaining.
Group of people that were thinking in the exact same way as, I guess, the rulers. And I want to press you on what exactly you mean when you say people ruling over us. But do you think that there aren't a bunch of people who thought the same thing, who took the same steps,
yes,
but weren't as successful?
What you just said, right? I'm gonna emphasize that. Yes, there's millions of people that want to be the rulers, but they can't because their energy is too weak. And why is their energy too weak? Because they make excuses, they complain, they piss, bitch, moan, and cry. They do everything other than shutting up.
Or they did everything right, but dealt a bad hand in life. Or they weren't lucky.
You don't need to be lucky. What? Dude, listen, this is what I'm trying to tell you, right? You attract what you are. This is a secret that's not really a secret of natural law, right? I've covered a couple of things about natural law, might makes right, strong, wise, weak, etc. You attract what you are. Weak attracts weak, strong attracts strong, wise attracts wise. That's why, you're fresh out of high school. In your high school, what did you notice? All the champions hung around each other, correct? All the fastest people on the track team hung around each other, correct? Whereas all the slow fuckers, they had their own group at the lunch table. All the successful athletes were a clique, while all the losers were doing whatever it is the losers do, right? All the brainy people hung around each other.
And I think this would actually speak to the idea of not going to other people for knowledge. those people, the champions, let's say the smart people hang around smart people, the athletic hang around the other athletes. They're able to rely on the wisdom and experience of the people around them, and they're able to use what they have
yes
to
and
take
no.
the next step.
Yes and no. You're catching on a little bit, but you have to go all the way. See, you start off as one strong individual energy. What's happening? As you're repelling all the weak energy away from you, all the slow people that can't keep up with you, all the less intelligent people that can't keep up with you, you're now starting to attract more people that are around your same level. So, using track and field terms, right? My best mile before I hurt myself was a 4:34, right? So, boom. Let's say you get to a 5-minute mile by yourself. You get to a 5-minute mile, boom. You start attracting other fast people that are running 4:58, 4:57. You all start training together. Now all of a sudden you're running a 4:34 and your friends are running 4:30, 4:35, etc. The point I'm trying to make is the main reason people fail is twofold. One, even if they have strong enough energy to advance, they're too weak to cut off all the other weak energy around them, and it's like a crab in the bucket mentality. They bring you back down to their level. The second reason people fail
Well, don't you think with strong energy would be able to be successful in spite of whatever weak energy they have around them?
No. The thing is, you can be above, so let's say this is average. You can be above average. You absolutely can be above average keeping a bunch of weak energy around you. But if you ever want to really get to the level to where you can make your dreams come true, eventually you got to cut off all that weak energy and start attracting other people around your same level. Most people don't want to do this, and this is where the ideologies come in. You've been trained since birth to think about honor and integrity and not leaving your friends behind, and you got to be loyal to the people you grew up with in the sandbox. Fuck all that shit. If you have a dream and you realize that in order to go further, you need to cut off all weak energy, if you don't do that, you're going to be stagnated and stuck with all the other people you don't want to cut off, and then you'll be a 50-year-old man talking about, yeah, man, I've been chasing my dream for 30 years, and then somebody that's 14, sorry, old man, I'm already above you. We have nothing else to talk about.
Okay, so
I know it sounds cruel.
This is something that you this is something that we could actually probably measure to some degree in a scientific study. We could probably ask people, okay, did you cut off people who, I guess, weren't, I guess to use your term, strong energy? Did you cut those people off? And then after that point, did you notice an improvement in your own?
And here's why I was explaining to you that while the scientific theory has a basis in nature, it's the baby step. Because when you get to a certain level, nobody's telling you any secrets. It's expected that you already know exactly what's going on. Because everybody at the top, they're at the top because they understand natural law. And it's expected that you also understand natural law. So if you get to that level and you're asking people if they cut off weak energy, they're probably going to look at you like you're crazy and try to find a way to eject you from their group. Because what are you doing here if you don't even know the basics?
Well, I mean, that would be I guess it would really depend on how you're approaching the conversation.
Not really.
But I think
the reason
this
sounds
weird.
I
think there's variability. I think some people probably did cut off the weak energy.
The reason this sounds weird to you is because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, have you ever been near the top for anything that you've put your energy out into?
I mean, good school.
Well, so the answers are and I'm not saying this to be a dick, but this is why I tell people to go out into nature and see things with your own eyes. Because until you get to that level, it's an incomprehensible level for you. Your thought process is mostly the thought process of this level. You have to get to the next level to see why that thought process is so drastically different, which you won't get to that.
I'm coming at this from the process of someone who's very interested in social science specifically. So what I want to do is understand what causes people to do certain things, and I study political science, so I'm more specifically interested in things like how do political processes work, how do why do people vote in certain ways, why do people tend to support certain ideologies.
Man, when I was 14, I asked, why do people vote at all? You can't choose your leaders. You don't go out into nature and ask the lion to be the ruler over you. But I digress. People think that.
That's part of what you could study. Yeah.
Nah,
you probably couldn't study it with a level of precision if you just wanted to ask people, if you just wanted to observe nature.
Nah,
you would actually need to find representative samples. You would need to collect. You would need to do studies. You would need to perform statistical analyses that you could never dream of performing just on your own in your head.
Or you could get to the point where you just rule over people when they're your live experiments for you.
Well, if you wanted to, okay.
But you got to be at the top for that, though. You see the common variable.
You would still need to collect. You would still need to collect samples. In a scientific way. You would still need to perform statistical analyses. You would still need to do all these things that require building upon the centuries of knowledge that we've collected. Things like.
Well, I can tell you right now, regular people don't have centuries of knowledge. Regular people don't even know how to tie their own shoelaces, let alone talk about.
I disagree completely. You have centuries of knowledge when you go onto a computer. When you go into a computer and you click the on button, and right in front of you is this thing which was built over centuries of technological innovation. So it isn't the sense that you know everything that people created. It's in the sense that the things that you know, the things that you're taught in school, the things that you use, were created by centuries of scientific knowledge.
Do you think people are more intelligent right now, or less intelligent than before they had computers?
So in psychology, there's this thing called the Flynn effect, which is basically the rise of IQs over time that happened in the 19th century, the 20th century. So if you go based on IQs, you could say that people are more intelligent, just based on the.
How can you go off IQs when most people don't even know their IQ?
Well, you can measure a lot of IQs. You just need to collect the sample, and you need to analyze the sample, and you need to give a bunch of people a representative sample. So you want to have it so the sample in your study matches the variability that exists out in the country. Say.
Would you consider Einstein to be a genius?
Measure a bunch of IQ.
Would you consider Einstein to be a genius? Okay. Do you know that Snoop Dogg has a higher IQ than Einstein?
That's perfectly plausible.
Would you consider Snoop Dogg to be?
On the basis of IQ.
What was that?
I don't consider people geniuses just on the basis of their IQs. I don't actually care that much about IQ. I just think it's that's one thing that you can do to measure people in aggregate.
Or or hear me out. Or you could measure people by how well they understand natural law.
Well, how do you measure that?
Well, once you know what you're doing, it's pretty obvious. Like, you listed some dead guys. I think you said Apostle and Socrates.
Yeah, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato.
Yeah, some dead guys.
Alexander the Great, even. There.
Yeah, some dead guys.
I talked about people like...
they worship gold and stars.
Mike Tyson, even. Just not in the sense of being geniuses, just like in the sense of being at the top of their craft.
Mike Tyson
But-
is
but
the
yeah,
top of his craft. Actually, no. A better example would be Floyd Mayweather because he's never lost. Mike Tyson lost before. So the top of boxing would be Floyd Mayweather.
Well, there's a point where he was the top. Mike Tyson.
If you take the number one boxer in the world and you put him in a prison environment with a nobody, basically putting him in a fight that's outside of his trained environment. You know, he's in a nice, 8x8 cell. You know, there's not really much room to maneuver around. You know, you think Floyd Mayweather is still the top of his craft? Where there's weapons involved as well.
No hold barred street fight. I mean, I think that Mayweather would destroy.
I mean, street fight too.
Like
yeah,
99% of people in any sort of physical
You think he would win 99% of his street fights?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a street fight before?
Not in person.
There you go. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, how many champion boxers have you watched fighting?
I used to be a correctional officer. I used to see these motherfuckers come in jail all the time. Oh yeah, I know Taekwondo, MMA. None of that shit matters because.
Okay, so most martial arts like Taekwondo isn't going to train you very well for combat.
No martial arts trains you well for combat. You have to go straight to the source, nature, to see what fighting is really like. And that's how you train yourself to be a better fighter. Because real fighting is not this one-on-one.
I don't.
I'm going to tell you what a real fight is, right?
I don't see many that say that, I spent my entire life doing street fights and I've never stepped inside of an MMA gym and I'm just better than everyone because I went to the source.
Listen. Let's cut the games. You have a very innocent mind. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. When you think of, hold on. Oh. When you think of fighting, you think of tussling your knuckles, right? When I think of fighting, I think I'm pulling up one of these. A nice baton.
I can't see what's on your screen.
Well, the audience can see it.
I can't see what's on your screen.
Here, I'll turn my camera on because you're not watching the stream. Look. Oh wait, my camera's not going to go on because it's on next clip. But what I'm trying to say is, right?
You say what's on?
Hang on. I'm gonna need to stand up to put this back. Essentially, what I'm trying to tell you is, you've been conditioned to think that this is fighting. This isn't fighting. In the case of Floyd Mayweather, you still there?
Yeah.
In the case of Floyd Mayweather, nobody is going to use their fists to fight him. That's not going to happen. Real fighting is completely different than what, you've been trained and conditioned to think real fighting is. There's over 200 murders in Baltimore that have gone unsolved in the year 2022. That's real fighting. People die in real fights. Go ask a soldier what a real fight looks like. If you put Floyd Mayweather in military gear, you think he'll be the best fighter in the world still? The point I'm trying to make here is that
I don't think he'd be able to shoot a gun.
the point I'm trying to make here is that in my original comment to you, I told you that the real geniuses are invisible to you. And until you get to that level, they'll continue to be invisible to you The real fighters are the ones you would never suspect, because real fighting is completely different than this shit you see on TV. You know? I don't carry this on me anymore, but my early days of Ubering, man, I carried this on me. I still had my fucking pouch for it too. Yeah, let somebody try to rob me while I was Ubering, man. I was ready to catch them slipping, man. A couple of these to the head and the person's dead. You feel me? You know, that's real fighting. You know, I'm not about to sit here, and keep in mind, right? I trained under Kyokushin, American kickboxing, and wrestling. So I am a trained fighter in addition to my law enforcement training. So I am a trained fighter, but I ain't fist fighting nobody. If somebody want to try to catch me slipping, they're gonna, you know, it ain't gonna go well for them. This is what I'm trying to say, man. When it comes to intellectual shit and when it comes to physical confrontation, people collectively have been conditioned into believing that things are actually different than what they are. Real fighting is not that shit you see on TV, and the real geniuses aren't a bunch of dead men that didn't even know how to write, you know, making up a bunch of ideologies 3,000 years ago. But I digress. They're saying that I'm throwing gags in the chat. That's funny.
So who are the geniuses? So this is what I want to know. Who are they?
Well, let me put it to you this way. You can meet some of the most intelligent men in the world at your local grocery store, and you would never even realize it. Because until you know how to see them, they're going to be invisible to you. Now, how do you learn how to see them? You have to understand the laws of the universe that you live in. Now, I know, right? Frizzy Dog and Pop is jumping the gun. Okay. Oh my God, he pulled out a baton because somebody wants to fit. Yeah, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. If you walk up to a lion, do you think the lion's going to fist fight you? No. Nor is the lion going to share you the secrets of how to be a better fighter. See, it's the same thing with geniuses. Lions already understand natural law because they're born directly into nature. Humans are also born directly into nature. Unfortunately, human beings, we're born already knowing the truth, but we're trained out of the truth by society, by the books we read, by religions and ideologies, etc., as time goes on. So essentially what I'm trying to say to you is the only way you would be able to identify who the other real geniuses are, you have to start getting to their level. How do you start getting to their level? By going straight to the source. You're all about scientific theory and scientific study, right? Study universal law. Study natural law. You can do the same thing.
And how will that help you identify? How does that work? And this is the difference.
You know how I'm able to identify who real fighters are? Because growing up in Baltimore City, you know, for 15 years, then being a correctional officer, I saw what real fighting looks like. It's completely different than this boxing shit.
You're talking about the true geniuses that make Einstein look, I guess, mediocre. That seems to be what you're talking about. Because when I ask you, do you think that Plato and Aristotle were great intellects?
It's funny that Aristotle, that's not his real name, by the way, but it's funny how he named himself off of astronomy, yet he didn't even, but I'm not going to get into that. Here's what I'm trying to say, right? You consider them geniuses because at your level, they're above you. I think I said this in the previous video that if you're somebody who's at the C tier, a person that's at B tier, they're like God to you, right? Because they're above you. Einstein, Aristotle, Socrates, you know, all these guys, right? They're at the B tier. They're above average. They're far more intelligent than a regular person. However, compared to the people that actually run this shit, they're at the very bottom. Like, there's tiers to this, man.
And who? Who runs the world? Is it?
This is what you don't understand. It's not one. Listen, man. You've been trained to think that there is a king, that there is a president, that there's an emperor. You said you watched the video Rules for Rulers, right? You understand there is not one.
I read the book.
Oh, you read the book Rules for Rulers. Oh, even better. So
the Dictator's Handbook.
So you see where I'm going with this. How does a dictator rule? By keeping his who in control? His keys, correct?
Right.
There isn't one singular person that rules over the planet. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Why do you think that I keep saying that you have to grow stronger, you have to get stronger energy, then you have to attract what you are? Why do you think I said that? The people that rule over you, they attracted each other, and then they worked together to create and physically manifest the current society that you live in today over the result of thousands of years.
So what you're saying is that the, I guess, wisdom that you would need to create a political system that puts them at the top makes them more intelligent than Einstein.
You're half correct. But what you just said, you missed something obvious. These guys were already at the top. They were already wiser than everybody. They were already at the top. It was just a matter of them physically manifesting what it is they collectively decided in their minds. They were already at the top. They were already above regular people. They just took it a step further. They essentially realized, one of my old friends used to say that the game is already completed. It's just a matter of realizing it. When you get to a certain level, you realize that the game is already completed. I know that's going to sound ridiculous. Oh, what the fuck is this guy talking about? This guy just hopped off the cuckoo trolley. What the fuck, Chris? Speak English. Listen. If you're a fat guy who runs a 10-minute mile, you're not going to know what a good mile looks like. You're going to think a 7-minute mile is like impossible, right? That's going to be your genius tier. The people that run 5-minute miles, 4-minute miles, there's motherfuckers that run under 4-minute miles now. These people are going to be invisible to you because they're not even going to be training around your presence in the first place. You get what I'm saying? However, if you take your ass to the Olympics, suddenly you see all kinds of people running under 4-minute miles. You get what I'm saying? When you go to the source and you understand natural law.
In that instance, the people who are at the top are clearly visible. I can watch the Olympics and I can see who the best in the world are right now. But with what you're talking about is people who the true geniuses that rule over us. And I want to know what you mean by rule over us.
See, you get it, but then you don't get it. It's like you say half of it, but then you like fumble, man. What I'm trying to say is that until you get to a certain level, you're not even going to know where these people conglomerate in the first place. And where do they conglomerate? You know where. In nature. They conglomerate in the source, man.
Well, in the source, I mean, I would assume. I don't know the details of how track athletes train, but
I told you the details on how to attract.
Like I said, I can find out who they are. I can find out who the top of any sport is. I can find out who the most cited scientists are, who the most influential and important scientists are.
You can find out who the top of known athletes are. Floyd Mayweather, again, he's the #1 boxing guy in the world. But I tell you right now, you put him in a situation where there's real fighting. Again, bro, look. Again, where there's real fighting, I guarantee you that that his numerical rankings would change.
Right, but that's because he specifically trains for the sport of boxing.
He specifically trains for the sport of boxing, and because this is something else you don't understand, right? You don't just be the #1 boxer and then you're recognized as the #1 boxer. No, there's a lot of political shit. You got to get into the league. You got to pay some promoters to even promote. Like, Floyd Mayweather's rise to the top was actually a very long one. But people don't, you know, we make it seem like he was always on top, and he probably was always on top. But in order for that to be recognized, it actually took a while. What I'm trying to say is that beyond a certain level, these people don't care about being physically recognized. They understand two of nature's ultimate tools, silence and secrecy. You see where I'm going with this? There is a reason why when people think about people that have power over them, they think of presidents, but they don't think of how, you know, if a police officer is having a bad day, he can throw your ass in jail for a year, even though you've committed no crime. I'm actually about to do a video where I covered that, where a guy spent a year in jail when he committed no crime. That's real power right there.
So your the distinction you're making is between you have the front-facing official, which is the president, and then the people who are really at the top are basically unelected bureaucrats, or
what I'm trying to tell you is that
I'm trying to figure out who exactly the leaders are.
You sound like a guy that watches anime. Do you watch anime? I'll give you an anime example.
Yeah.
What type of anime?
I don't watch all that much stuff.
Do you watch like Dragon Ball, Naruto? What you be watching?
I watch Attack on Titan. That's my favorite.
I don't know any. Okay. So in anime shows, you know how one person is so weak that they can't comprehend the other guy's power until they get to around that guy's level, and then their power is comprehensible?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that on Attack on Titans? What kind of weird fucking show are you watching?
I don't. You should watch Attack on Titan. It's really cool. It's pretty complicated, but it's not that hard to understand.
All right, let's try this.
But it's not like.
Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that you, at your level, you wouldn't be able to spot people that are that much above you because it's incomprehensible to you. It would be like you trying to learn calculus when you can't even do addition. You get what I'm saying? You know that calculus is above you, but you don't understand the difference between algebra and calculus because all you're seeing is a different realm that you're not anywhere close to. Does that make sense? All power derives from the universe. It applies here 100% because all power originates from the universe itself. That's why the men and women in real life that have the power, they understand that they have to get it straight from the source, nature, the universe, natural law. You're not going to be able to identify who these people are because you first have to have an understanding of natural law in the first place so that these people even become identifiable to you. I'm trying to use some examples, but you don't watch any shows, you don't play any sports. It's like, God damn, bro, I'm trying to give examples, man, but You're making it kind of hard, man.
Okay, so here's the.
I know it's not easy to accept. Most people don't accept this. Most people kind of want to believe that everybody's around the same.
It feels conspiracy like that there are some secret rulers that
They're not a secret though. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the secret. There is no secret. It's not a secret, dude. All you have to do is go straight to the source, nature, and observe. I know it sounds crazy, but I think I know what's going to happen. You're going to try some of this, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but once you start seeing certain things with your own eyes, I think that's when things will start to make more sense to you.
I think that there are hard limitations on what you can learn from, to use your words, observing nature. And I haven't written out in my document here for preparation, I guess what I call the 5 limitations of observing nature. And so I call them the scope limitation, the bias limitation, the memory limitation, the cognitive limitation, and the temporal limitation. And I'm sure you can kind of tell what they mean based on their names. So the first is the scope limitation, which is every person is limited to the total number of experiences that it's possible for them to have over their lifetimes.
Who told you that?
And the problem with that, well, it's a tautology. You can only have as many experiences as you can have.
Does that calculate observing other people, observing nature, observing their experiences, and using it to craft better ones on your own? Because you don't have to be a 90-year-old man. Most 90-year-old men are idiots, right? You got 15-year-olds that are geniuses, yet you got 90-year-old boomers that are idiots. Experience, you don't need more experience to get more skill points. That's a huge misconception. Those fucking Toontown corporate clash people got angry at me because my second CEO, I had the shit mastered. But they were no life in the shit for years, still sucked at it. I came out of nowhere, second CEO, oh, this is easy. So you don't need more experience to get more skill points. That's a common misconception.
Well, you need based on if you're taking going to nature as the main source, and you aren't, to use the term, going to man for knowledge, then you are limited by your experiences. And so, let's say that you want to learn what people are like, and so you go and talk to everyone in your city. Well, then your sample is restricted because you're only talking to people in your city. You have no idea what people are going to be like.
You don't need to do all of that because most people are the same. When you talk to a few people, you get a pretty good idea of how most people are. This, again, it sounds elitist, but that's how it is. Most people don't want to be different from the norm.
But the problem is that's something that you need to actually establish. That's something that you need to prove. So I could go to you for knowledge, and you can tell me, okay, most people are the same. So if you know a lot of people are like, then you could probably tell what everyone is really like. I could go to you for that, and you could try to tell.
But we've already proved it. All you have to do is look at how any government works, how any the Kirby guy that commented on the stream, mob mentality exists for a reason. All these ideologies, all these religions, all these different government types, they all run the same because the people that they rule over are pretty much the same for the most part. And the people that aren't like that, they do one of two things. They either go and join the people that got all the power, or, they try to challenge the people that have the power, and, they learn the hard way why that's not a good idea. Or they kind of just, do what I do and just, mind their own business. They don't mess with anybody. They do their own thing. But for the most part, people do one of those two things. The ones that are more intelligent than the masses, they either go inside with the people that got the power, or they try to challenge the establishment. And, that usually doesn't work out too well. But And don't tell me about that Andrew Tate fucker. He ain't challenging no establishment, man. Because I know somebody in the comments is gonna.
Oh, I agree completely.
That dude. I was talking. So somebody was asking me, man. What would it take for people to evolve beyond what they are? And I'm just like, why would you not take out a sniper rifle and assassinate Andrew Tate every time he says that bullshit? That's how you would evolve humanity. But I ain't gonna get into all that though. Motherfucker says you need money and status to get women when most people in the world were born from men that don't have money and status. So it's like, what the fuck? Which that's an example of scientific theory right there, right? The truth, not contradicting, the lies contradicting, being inconsistent, the whole 9 yards. But anyways, to refute your point, you need to be a fast learner. You don't need hundreds of years of experience when you can experience something one time and learn quickly from it.
You can learn a lot from one experience, and this is something that I'll get to in a minute with the other limitations. But basically the point that I'm getting at is that you will only experience a small portion of what's out there, and that can lead you to have an incomplete perspective of what is actually out there in the world. That's my basic point. I feel like that's pretty reasonable.
And I think what the disconnect is that you seem to think that there is like a huge complicated system for everything, when for the most part everything runs off of natural law. Once you understand a little bit of natural law, you understand a lot of natural law. And once you understand natural law, you understand for the most part how things operate and how things are run.
Well, like I said, you have to establish this. You need to show that the world is simple, that people are the same.
And I'm trying to show it to you. All you have to do is go out into the source and see things with your own eyes. You can see it right now with your own eyes. You were in high school. You know most of those people in high school were the same, bro. You know most of those fuckers were the same. You know it, bro. You know that there wasn't really that much difference between a jock and a guy that plays chess.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying, I'm getting at something broader here. You can, and I guess this is the fundamental disconnect when we're talking about observing nature. Like, let's say that I go out, I observe the world, and I come to some certain conclusions. You go out, you observe the world, you come to a different set of conclusions. There's no way for us to have a substantive conversation. I can't tell you that your experiences are wrong. You can't tell me that mine are wrong. There's very little for us to actually talk about. But when we talk about science, when we talk about studies, when we talk about people actually going and carefully collecting samples and then performing analyses on them, we can have conversations about, okay, this study's bad, this study's good. We can learn this from this study. We can speak a common language. But when we're talking about our own experiences, there's no common language. There's no conversation that we can really have.
I argue that anecdotal evidence is the strongest evidence, because there's things in this world that you're only really there's things that unless you see it with your own eyes, you're going to think it's insane. So I absolutely think anecdotal evidence is the strongest evidence for anybody.
I disagree completely. I think that at the top of here's my evidence hierarchy. The first is that you have things that you can empirically demonstrate to be the case, and below that you have things that you can conjecture about, and that's perfectly reasonable. And then underneath that you have anecdote. And I think that anecdote, like I said, you're limited by these 5 factors. So I listed the first one, the scope limitation. The fact that you can only have so many experiences, and you're limited by what you're able to do. And the next is the what I call the bias limitation, which is people will see what they want to see. People will direct their attention primarily at things that conform to their own beliefs and their own understandings, and will usually choose to ignore things that don't conform to their biases. And so, like, an example of this might be, I feel like we've all had the experience of, like, we're thinking about someone, and then we get a phone call of from them, and we think, oh man, I'm psychic. I was just thinking about him, and he gave me a call right now. But what we don't remember, what we'll forget about, are all of the times where we were thinking about someone and nothing out of the ordinary happens. And so what you're left with is your mind will pay attention to the things that are out of the ordinary. Your mind will pay attention to the things that you want to see and what you want to know, and you can ignore everything else. So that's something I don't think you can really account for. Except with unbiased data collection, which people really have no way of doing on their own. I think most people.
So, if somebody gathered 1 million people, made a country with 1 million people, and had a bunch of human cattle as live data collection, wouldn't you say that's effective? See where I'm going with this?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. So, like, you would only have good information about the people within that country. You might not be able to generalize to the country.
What if you do this on a global level? This is again why I say that most people are pretty much the same. We've proved this 10,000 years ago. All these new different wars you see, it's just people fighting over the same thing. All these stupid arguments people have about ideologies is people arguing about the same thing. Same exact thing.
Well, like I said, these are things that you can study. You can study the causes of different wars. You can look and you can see that, okay, maybe this war was fought just for territory. Maybe this war was fought just on the basis
study. Then what's the solution? Do you study some more? Or do you use natural law to get to where you desire to be in life and take full advantage of the system that was made
like
to be
I'm coming at this from the perspective. Like I said, I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone interested in social science, and I want to know what is the truth. So the truth for its own sake. I'm not trying to, rule the world. I want to understand the people that do rule the world. And so if I reach my goal,
if you want to understand the people that rule the world, you're going to have to understand the same laws they understand, the laws of the universe and the laws of nature. That's where they got all their power from, straight from the source. It sounds ridiculous, but until you do the basics, right, and understand natural law, then you won't be able to begin to understand the people that rule over you. Because again, they're not your friends, but they're not your enemies either. What was that?
The problem is a lot of the things that you're talking about when you talk about natural law seem too simplistic to actually.
The truth is simple. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yes, it's simple because the truth is simple.
So, like, how there's, I guess, your theory of natural law, and I guess I want to know how that term is usually used, natural law, because I hear it and I'm not exactly sure what it means. But how does your idea of natural law help to determine who gets elected president and who doesn't?
It doesn't matter who gets elected in the first place. First of all, just to be blunt with you.
As a political scientist, that's something that's interesting to me. That's something that I want to know. That's something like, okay, this. How do people get into the positions that they are? And that's something that's going to be a very specific, very complicated process.
You know how people get into the positions that there are. It's a combination of, at the end of the day, it all goes back to natural law. The wise, the strong, the weak. The wise make sure all of their friends and family members have all the positions of power. And then as far as the strong, they take the people that want to be the soldiers, the police officers, etc., and they enforce the laws that the wise creates. As far as the regular people, they just, they're just there to accept their fate, you could say. But you know how people get into the positions that they're in. It's a combination of nepotism, knowing the right people. It's a combination of attracting other stronger energies that can lead you to those positions in the first place, the whole 9 yards. That's why, this game was designed on impossible difficulty. A regular person was never meant to ever see what's really going on. A regular person was meant to be born in an average neighborhood, work a 9-to-5 job, die when they're 56, and never see anything that's going on. They were never meant to escalate into the ruling class.
Well, what do you mean by meant to? Like when you talk about things being designed in a certain way.
Yes, this game is designed with impossible difficulty in mind. It's even harder for women. If the game was designed for men to live on impossible difficulty, women, they gotta live life on beyond impossible difficulty. That isn't to say that a woman can't find the truth. It's just harder for her because the odds is already stacked against the men. It's even more stacked against the woman, unfortunately.
Right. I guess when you say things like the game is designed in a certain way, I want to know who's doing the designing.
You know who.
Just people who understand the natural law isn't good enough. That doesn't, because even when you...
It's not good enough because that's the answer. You know who.
But then when I went a step further and I asked who gets elected, who gets put into positions of power, you say, okay, yeah, it has to do with nepotism, it has to do with connections, it has to do with all these things, all these complicated factors. And I would say
but it's not complicated. The people that sit down and understand how the universe around them works, and they attract other people like that, they're only going to keep the power in that circle of people that understands what's going on. The main reason you need to get to a position to where you can have conversations with people like this in the first place is because the mentality is always the same. The mere thought of sharing their knowledge to anybody in the lower classes that just want free lunch, it's met with disdain. It's met with anger. Why the hell should I help the sheep out when they don't help themselves? You see what I'm saying? It's natural nepotism. You get what I'm saying? All you got to do is observe nature. All the fucking predators rarely fight each other, right? They almost never fight each other. They divide up the animal kingdom. Okay, we're going to hunt this section. Y'all can hunt that section. We're going to basically hunt and devour the sheep together. Let's work together while having our own territories. It's the same thing in the human realm. The people that understand natural law, they get angry that regular people can't do what they did and just go to the source, the ultimate source of power, and get the power for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, it's a natural nepotism. They created the nepotism because, to be blunt, regular people want it this way. They want people to rule over them. It's only natural. They want a king, so the elite give them kings. They want a ruler, so the elite give them rulers. They want a god, so the elite give them gods. You literally control everything that happens to you. What you want, you get. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. Mr. Chalice.
Like I said, I think. Let's say you have a person who wants to be the best.
Mr. Kishoff, the only reason this sounds too conspiratorial is because you guys are not at the level to where I can have a real conversation about this. I'm literally trying to give examples, but some of you people have lived such simple lives that I can't give examples because y'all can't relate to anything. I'm not saying that to insult y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't judge anybody. If you want to live a simple life, you can live a simple life. But I can't give you real life examples if you can't relate to any. I asked Charles if he watches. He doesn't have any shows he watches. From what I understand, from what I'm getting from this conversation, all he does is read books, which there's nothing wrong with that. I used to read Hank the Cow Dog. You feel me? Shit, I got it. Oh, hold on. I got a whole fucking shit. I ain't no stranger to books. Look at this, and I just dropped one. This is like 20 pounds of books right here, and I just dropped one. So.
Let me pull up the screen.
Well, I already put them down, but yeah, man, I got like 20 pounds of books in that corner over there. They collecting dust because I stopped going to Man for Knowledge. And I got a bunch of books at my mom's house I didn't get yet. But yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, I see it.
But Mr. Kishab,
yeah,
the universe isn't.
Getting at, the basic point.
Oh, go ahead.
The basic point that I'm getting at here is, it's hard at sounding like a conspiracy.
Do you even know what a conspiracy is?
A conspiracy, when people conspire together. I don't know.
Okay, so you're using a word that you don't even know what the meaning is, and you're trying to call it that word. That's kind of funny.
A conspiracy theory basically meaning in the sense of that there is some hidden truth that a real person can't conceive because you have people that rule over you that you can't tell what they are.
Conceive being
everything is around
Can you
July,
conceive?
basically.
Okay, let's use a real life example. We're gonna end this conspiracy theorist pseudo refute right now. Do you think it's inconceivable that you can be locked in a cage while being completely innocent? In a free country.
That's perfectly plausible, yeah. Yeah, that happens. That's not a conspiracy.
Well, some people would.
That's something that you connect.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, they may be wrong. You connect. There are scientific studies that actually assess the rates at which innocent people are convicted.
And all of those studies are wrong. It's actually a lot more lopsided. The corruption in law enforcement is a lot more widespread than what any regular person could comprehend. I mean, I only saw it firsthand because I was in this shit. That's why I resigned. So that's a perfect blatant example. All of the studies are wrong because all of the studies around, police corruption, they all greatly under exaggerate. And the reason I use this as an example is because this is an ultimate example. This is something that people will label as a conspiracy, but when you tell them to go and put a uniform on and be a police officer, they're like, oh no, I don't want to do it. Well, why not? Don't you want to prove it's not a conspiracy? Likewise, when you tell people to go straight to nature, to go straight to the source, they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Why not? Why not prove it's not a conspiracy with your own eyes? You see my point?
I think so. I just don't see this being outside of the lens of outside of the scope of science.
What you don't understand is that all science derives from nature. As I explained.
Obviously, you're defining nature as the universe itself. So obviously,
that's what nature is. Universal law is natural law. Nature is everything that exists in the universe itself. That's literally what nature is. All natural law is this. Natural law is that all of your actions has a consequence or multiple consequences. All of your consequences will happen naturally. Regardless if you believe in the consequences or not, regardless if you think these laws apply to you or not. That's why it's called natural law, because it all happens naturally. Everything in the universe operates naturally in a never-ending cycle. This is why I just don't judge people anymore, because I understand that sheep are a natural resource. Sheep want to be used. They want to be told what to do, and it's up to you to either, get with the program and naturally use them accordingly, or just do your own thing and don't even get involved.
Well, again, I disagree with the idea that people want to be ruled. I think that people are forced by circumstance to be ruled, and I'm using the word forced in a loose way, but I think that most people have very little choice but to be ruled, and that if people if people had more control over their lives, and this is as self-determination theory has shown, if people have more control over their lives, they are happier. If people are able to be intrinsically motivated for the things that they do, as opposed to being extrinsically motivated, just trying to chase it.
If people are happier, the truth doesn't contradict. You just contradicted. If people are happier when they have more control over their lives, why are more women than ever on depressed medication? Why are more women than ever miserable when they have more control over their lives than they ever had before?
Well, I mean, it varies by country.
Not really.
So there are some countries where depression rates are going down, and there are some rates where it's going up. I could find, there was this...
Google. Here comes the Google. I got a better idea, buddy.
Yeah.
You sound like you're like 21, so how about me and you, we're going to go out to the club, we're going to go out to a bar, we're going to go interact with women in real life, and you can tell me if they seem happy or not.
Well, this is why I was talking about scope. So I can't observe every single country. I can't observe how depressed people used to be.
You got a passport? We can go visit some countries, buddy. You got a passport?
We would be visiting a very small portion of the countries that are out there. We wouldn't know what things are like in countries that we don't visit. We would only see a very tiny portion of what exists in that specific country, and we would know nothing about the trends over time. How things used to be.
But we know the trends over time. We know that as people have gotten the illusion of having more freedom, they've gotten more miserable. We know that trend very well. From the 60s to the year 2023, people on average are less happy now that they got more control over their lives. They're not more happy. It just directly shows that sheep want to be told what to do. I mean, you got a boss right now, don't you? You got an employer?
Not right now. All college.
Oh, you're in college. So yeah, you got a bunch of people that decide what grade you get, that decide how much knowledge you're able to learn, correct? That decide which classes pertain to your degree, correct? You like being told what to do. That's why you look up to all these people you think are geniuses. You like them telling you what to do. You like them telling you what to learn. You like them telling you about scientific theory. You don't want to go out into nature and experience it on your own.
Okay, so I posted into the Discord chat. There's some trends that happen over time.
And this is why I said what I said when it comes to gathering accurate data, because that's already incorrect. Most suicides don't get ruled as suicides. Did you know that? You might find...
I know that there's a lot of ambiguity, but you can look at trends. You can look at a rise in suicides, and you can try to see what percentage, how much ambiguity is there in the suicides, and you can have some reasonable amount of accuracy about the trend, even if some suicides are not ruled such.
Truth doesn't contradict. If people are happier when they have more control over their lives, why are more people more miserable after having more control over their lives? In the very same Google
Well,
chart,
using suicide rate, yeah.
I am looking at the suicide rates. At the very same Google study you just showed me, the country with the highest population has the highest increased suicide rates, even though that country, on paper, the people have more freedom than ever. Looking at the largest sample size,
People have more
it's
freedom
not
than
even...
every single one of those countries.
Say that again?
People have more freedom than ever in every single one of the countries listed there.
I mean, not really. No. That's false. In Sweden, you cannot openly say, I am not a feminist, or you get fired from your job. They don't got more freedom in those other countries. At least in America, you can say, I'm not a feminist, and you can still keep some of your job. But in Sweden, absolutely not. If you have a job in Sweden, and you go on social media and say the words, I am not a feminist, you're going to get fired from your job. They don't got more freedom. They got the illusion of having more freedom. If anybody in the chat lives in Sweden, y'all know what I'm talking about. You cannot say on social media, I am not a feminist, or you're going to get GG'd over there. Which, by the way, Charles, you better...
Okay, how about it?
Go ahead.
What's up?
I was just warning you, man. That may be what happens in America too in the future. People don't got more freedom, buddy. They got less. They got the illusion that they have more, though. But this is what I'm trying to say, right? Truth doesn't contradict. If people are happier having more control over their lives, and they think they have more control over their lives, why, for the most part, are they more miserable?
Well, like I said, you have to actually establish that they are more miserable. And it looks like it varies by country.
Okay.
It looks like the United States is one particular example of suicide rates trending up.
You literally took the largest sample size and directly proved that most people are more miserable. United States has 300 million.
Large numbers.
Go ahead.
So the reason why you need big sample sizes when you're doing a study is because you want to reduce the uncertainty that is there. So like if you have a study of 20 people, then what's going to happen is you're going to have very little certainty of whatever you're trying to measure. Like let's say that the average height in a country is 5'9", and you try to do a study that measures the average height, and so you collect 20 people. And
this is why going out to the source and observing nature is because you can see in 20 minutes that most people, you can literally just walk to any giant metropolitan area where there's hundreds of thousands of people. You can literally observe lots of people being told what to do and being happy, and like it's like you don't need Google studies. You just got to go out into nature. I guarantee you right now, if you go and
explain that.
What was that?
So let me keep explain the basic idea. So let's say you collect 20 guys and you measure their heights, and and then you do that over and over again. You collect a bunch of samples of just 20 guys, and then you measure their average height. What you'll find is that the average will differ based on your sample size because the sample is so small. So you might have one sample that says the average height is 5'11". The next might say the average is 5'7".
Yeah, because all of these studies gather data incorrectly. That's why they're all fucking false.
Well, that's the point that I'm getting at. But let's say that you increase the sample size. Now you have a sample of 100. And what I'm trying to
tell you is that this was already done by the people that rule over you, and they have entire countries of people that they can use as human data. You're playing catch up, but you're playing catch up in reverse. The reason you and that other guy, what was that guy's name? I don't even remember his name. Oh, Keshav. The reason you and the Kashav guy think this is a conspiracy is because for whatever reason, y'all just don't want to go straight to the source and see things with your own eyes. Probably because you guys like being told what to do. You guys like there being geniuses above you. You don't really want to get your own knowledge for yourself, and I'm not judging. But what I'm trying to say is that...
Well, what I want to do is I want to be able to differentiate between what is true and what isn't. I want to be able to look at someone saying,
let me help you.
This is some fact, and I want to be able to distinguish if that person is telling you the truth.
Well, let me help you.
Science.
Truth does not contradict. You can't say that people are happier when they have more control over your lives than immediately link a study that directly proves that false. Truth does not contradict.
Well, no. This is the problem, because there are tons of different things that happen in each of those countries, and there's no way to isolate.
What are you talking about, man? The same thing happens in all the countries. What are you talking about, man?
Well, look at the trends. You can see right there different trends in different countries.
Do you even know what a country is?
What?
A country is a bunch of people gathering together and basically saying, we want somebody to rule over us. We want a boss, we want a judge, we want a god, we want a police, we want somebody else telling us what to do.
There's a very complicated and contradictory literature about the way that governments form. I don't think that's something that you can...
Do you even... Okay, how did our government form? Do you even know how our government formed?
Our government formed? Well, I mean, it formed after we got independence from Britain. I mean...
we got independence from Britain, so Britain just gave us independence. That's what you're saying?
We fought for it. We fought for it.
We fought for it. So you think we caused our independence?
We being the military of the United States.
So you think that the United States military was the reason we got our independence? You didn't research.
If we didn't win the war.
George Washington wrote in his book, do you know why our famous militia was called Minutemen?
No.
Because as soon as they saw the enemy, they ran in a minute. That's why they were called Minutemen. Americans were wusses even back then. We had massive amounts of help from other countries. That's why we won that war. But the American military, they were wusses even back then. No offense to any military folks watching. And then what happened after we got our independence?
We got independence.
But
we got independence because Britain decided that it wasn't worth it for them to keep trying to keep us.
Nonetheless, what happened after we got our independence? Oh, a bunch of people agreed that they liked being told what to do. So they elected a bunch of other people to tell them what to do. See, you can't say people...
That was the only system that they knew. I mean, obviously there were different...
Dude, governance is a relatively recent concept among humans. There was a point in time when humans lived with no government. This is what I'm trying to say, right? Why is it that whenever a country gets their independence, 100% of the time, they universally agree, let's elect other people to rule over us? If people were happy, the truth doesn't contradict. If people were happier not being told what to do, why is it that 100%, and you can Google this, 100% of countries in the world, 100%, they all, because most people are the same, right? Why is it that they universally pick other people to rule over them again after they get their independence? If people were really happier not being told what to do. You would think they would form a new type of government when nobody's telling anybody what to do, like communists. Oh, wait a minute, the communists did that too? They elected somebody named Stalin and Mao and Kim Jong-il to tell them what to do. Oh my God.
That varied. Well, that varied. Again, there's variation. Because in the collectives of Spain, they didn't have the same system of governance that they had in the Soviet Union.
You said that
it was very different.
Wait, you said who had a different system of government from the Soviet Union?
The communist collectives of Spain. It existed very, very short time, like in the 1930s.
And Spain right now is currently a bunch of people being told what to do, right?
Yeah.
All you got to do is observe nature, man. People, for the most part, are the same. Most people want a boss. That's why every time there's a revolution, people immediately hire a new boss. All you got to do is go straight to the source, man. You don't need Google studies. You don't need data that's collected incorrectly. All you have to do is open your door, take a walk down the streets. 99% of people that have jobs because they like being told what to do. They want a boss. They want a ruler.
A lot of people would like to be entrepreneurs themselves, but don't have any sort of plausible way of making that happen.
Why don't they?
A lot of people would like to be their own bosses. Because it's very difficult, because if you want to be an entrepreneur,
I'm my own boss, and it's pretty easy. It's not hard at all.
Have good ideas.
The main reason
it's hard to be successful.
Not really. Most people are not successful entrepreneurs because most people want to be told what to do by somebody else. They don't like having to make their own work schedule. They don't like having to, pay for their own benefits, get their own health plans, dental plans. They want to be making $12 an hour where somebody else decides that for them and they get a retirement plan. You ain't got no retirement plan when you're your own boss. You got to do that yourself. Now you can still pay into Social Security, with your taxes, but I mean, Mr. Charles, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to be your own boss? Be honest.
I have no idea what I want at this point.
The answer is
I want to own my own studio. I want to own my own studio. That's what I want to do. Studying like audio and that kind of thing.
See,
but
Mr. Royal Guard, it's not the lazy factor. It's not laziness. Listen, bro, the working class, they work hard, man. They don't work harder than the elite, but they work pretty hard, man. The working class, they bust their balls. So it's not laziness, because they're working very hard. It's just that most
I've
people...
never done a lazy ever. What I'm saying is they got dealt a crappy hand, and it's very difficult for them to break out of their situation.
I grew up in Baltimore City for 15 years, and I cut my whole entire family off, man. I don't want to hear that excuse. You can crappy hand, bruh. You got motherfuckers that were born with no legs that are millionaires, man. You decide whatever you want to happen to you.
Why do you think that there's a correlation between where you start and where you are later in life?
Because most people,
on average, poor people tend to have poor kids. Richer people tend to have kids that end up to be
I just told you why. Because most people like where they start off at. Most people want to stay there forever. They don't admit this out loud, but most people like being told what to do.
They don't want to stay there. Most people want to go up, but most people want to go up the ladder. But they don't always have not the ability to.
They say this is why most of the studies are false, because people were not honest. They'll say out loud. It's kind of like when women will say out loud, "Yeah, I want a rich guy," But then they have 5 children with the broke homeless guy that has no job. People will say out loud that they want to live in the different environments, but when you get them drunk and you actually have a real conversation, because, you know, alcohol is a truth serum, right? Man, I miss the hood. I think I'm going to go bowling with the homies on the weekend down at Park Heights and 215. They'll say out loud that they want to leave their environment, but deep down inside they love their environment. That's why prison has such a high recidivism rate. Because, yeah, people will say that they want to get their freedom out loud, but deep down inside they like having 3 square meals a day. They like having free housing. They like having the government take care of them. So, obviously that's not everybody, but that's most people. Most people like the situation that they're in. I never said this on video. Fuck it, I'll say it on the stream because I don't think most people are going to make it to this point anyways. I'm the only motherfucker in my family that broke the fucking cycle. I'm the only motherfucker that started living on his own. My dad never moved out of the house of his mom. Okay, his mom fucking died and he got her house. My brother, he still lives with our fucking mom and he's 9 years older than me. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only motherfucker that broke that cycle. And you know what? I didn't have some grand plan. I just said, fuck you people, I'm out of here, and I left. That simple. You know, the second I decided I wanted to get out of that environment, I did it the same day. What was that, Charles?
I feel like I remember reading a comment saying that you're making like over 100,000.
104,000 a year.
104,000?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people who can't make anywhere close to that. And there's very little for them to do to be able to change that.
Do you know how I make so much money? Do you know how I make so much money doing what I do?
How?
This is going to piss you off, but because I went straight to the source, you see where I'm going with this? All these motherfuckers can get... Listen to me very carefully, bro. It was on Christmas. I made a video the day before Christmas where my dog basically said, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Christmas, I said, fuck you all, and I left. I didn't plan my great escape from the hood. I didn't do any of that shit. I literally said, fuck you all, and I left.
Well, I mean, you can leave the house. That's perfectly.
I left, dude. Do you see where I live? I'm in an upper class neighborhood now. I got the fuck out of Baltimore, bro. I got out of all that shit. What I'm trying to say is, man, yes.
But none of that will guarantee that you'll be financially secure, and that's the thing. People will make their decisions around what's secure for them. What is likely to make it so they can...
Thank you for proving my point.
And they can still...
You just said it. No. You just said it. Thank you for proving my point. People make their decisions based on what gives them security. And what gives them the most security? Being told what to do by somebody else. Thank you for proving my point.
That's perfectly fine, but that doesn't mean that people are doing this in a willing, voluntary sense.
They are doing this in a willing, voluntary sense because you control everything that happens to you. If these people didn't want to rely on somebody else, they wouldn't. I've never liked relying on other people. That's why when I'm making more than my mom and her husband combined, so when they said that I need them, I'm like, fuck you, I'm out of here, bye. It's as simple as that. It's a lot easier when you understand natural law, then everything is easy. Life.
Well, I don't think natural law has anything to do with that.
Natural law does have to do with it because people that are weak.
You had a good job, and then you decided you wanted to move out.
You do know there's over 2 million Uber drivers in America, and almost none of them are making what I'm making. It's not that your mentality is incorrect, buddy. Matter of fact, where's my phone at? Stay right there. Let me show you something. Because I don't think people realize exactly how much Uber drivers struggle because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Give me 1 second. Let me. All right. Can y'all see this? The average Uber driver in Baltimore, Maryland makes $18 an hour, which is that's actually still, but then again, Baltimore is like top 5 in terms of rideshare. So $18 an hour, you know, that's probably accurate because Baltimore is one of the best rideshare places. But $18 an hour, you know, now look at what I'm making, over double that. See what I'm saying? And I'm about to double my income again once I get the rest of my shit straight. So you can't blame it on
hypothetically in a world.
What was that?
Hypothetically, in a world where people take your advice, I guess somehow they go to nature and they discover the secret to being the best Uber driver. What would end up happening is they would probably take a lot more of your clients.
No, they wouldn't.
They would probably take a lot more of your clients.
I made a fucking Reddit. That's actually false. I made a Reddit post where I basically detailed on how they could be making 6 figures too. That shit got shared over 600 times. It got something like 100,000 views. And you know what happened? People tried it for 30 seconds and then they gave up and went back to doing what other people was telling them to do. See, it's hard for you to see it right now because you're closer to regular people than you are to people that understand it. But natural law applies to everyone and everything. The strongest energies always make it to the top. Doesn't matter. And when you really think about it, this applies to all jobs too. Because McDonald's, right? You can be a fucking cook making $13 an hour, or you can be the manager making 6 figures. So with everything you do, there's a ceiling. Getting closer to that ceiling requires either one of 2 things. Somebody else telling you what to do, and if you get lucky enough, then sure. If you're lucky enough and the millionaire tells you exactly what to do and you listen to him, congrats, you got lucky. That's not most people. It's much easier to just go straight to the source, observe nature, and understand how everything is a game. The Ubering, that's a game. Girls, that's a game. Video games, that's a game. All games are just minor variants of the ultimate game, natural law. Once you understand natural law, everything else becomes simple. So we're not going to blame this on my job because, as you guys saw, the average Uber driver in Baltimore City is only making $18 an hour. And when you consider the fact that you have to do your own benefits, you got to do your own health care, you got to do your own taxes, that $18 an hour quickly goes down to $13 an hour. So you got to make a lot of money Ubering to make a lot of money Ubering. And, you know, I'm going to be switching to luxury rides so I can double my income. And I don't need this much money, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, me and my friends, we got something planned in the future, and we're going to put all of our resources together, and, you know, it's going to require a lot of resources in the future. So just stacking up chips right now. So what was that?
That's all fine. I guess I just struggle to see. I guess I just struggle to see how natural law fits in here.
You're a part of nature, right?
Right.
So how doesn't it fit?
But that doesn't mean that the world is simple.
I mean, the world is a part of nature, right?
Right. Or what I'm taking issue with is the idea that everything is a variation on the same game.
It is.
I want to know
Dude,
what that game is.
The people that rule over you.
In what sense is the world simple?
The people that rule over you, literally all they did was they took the ultimate game, nature, and they made their own game as a smaller variant of that. Scientific theory is just a smaller variant of nature. It's all derived from nature. That's why I made that video. All occult symbols come straight from nature.
We know that everything is derived from nature because that just means that everything is in the universe.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Everything is in.
But that doesn't mean that the universe is simple. That doesn't mean that hierarchy is inherently built into the our human DNA. That doesn't mean anything like that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Hierarchy isn't. Listen to me. Hierarchy isn't built into our DNA. You have to use your free will to want somebody to rule over you. I've never wanted a fucking boss. I never go on fucking. For those of y'all that have, found my personnel sheet for corrections in the other agencies I work for, what is the first thing you notice all of my supervisors say? That I don't like following orders, that I'm insubordinate. You're damn right. I never liked following orders. I never liked being told what to do by people. So yeah, it's a free will choice to want somebody to rule over you. It's a free will choice to want somebody to tell you what to do. It's not some type of magical, pre-built DNA thing we have in our bodies. You have to use your free will to want somebody to tell you what to do. And unfortunately, most people, for whatever reason, want to be told. I mean, you said it. You explained it best. Most people want to be told what to do because it makes them feel secure or whatever. It gives them security. Whatever.
Well, it's not that most people want to be told what to do because it makes them secure. It's that most people only have the realistic option of being told what to do. So for example, have you ever heard of the concept of worker cooperatives?
Working cooperatives?
Yeah, worker cooperatives. They're basically businesses that are owned where every single worker is a shareholder, and so there's really no boss. They can hire managers to help keep things in line, but it's decided collectively. So it isn't the traditional sense of you have a CEO, you have shareholders. It's nothing like that. It's something where the workers actually control what the business does and what their schedules look like, and all those kinds of things. I think that a lot of people, if they had the power, would enjoy being in that sort of situation. But the problem is it's very difficult to start those situations. There are a lot of barriers to entry.
People don't want to have full responsibility and control over their actions. That's why when you catch somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing, the first thing they do is they try to deflect responsibility. Oh, I'm a victim. Oh, society made me this way. Oh, I'm a product of my environment. Oh, I had a single mother. They just make excuses. People want to delegate responsibility to somebody who they perceive to be above them, rather that be a god or a society or a ruler.
Just saying that those things are excuses isn't good enough to explain the situation, because most people who start out ahead end up ahead of other people, and most people that start out behind end up being trapped. That's just what happens on average. So when you talk about free will, why does it just so happen that the people that rich people, people who were born rich, make of their own volition the decisions that will keep them rich, while people who are poor, of their own volition, will make decisions that will keep them poor, in spite of the fact that we all know that most people, if they wanted to, would become rich.
Because most people don't want to become rich. I know it sounds crazy, but most people, why do you think when people win the lottery, they usually go broke immediately? Because they don't want to be rich. So they get rid of all their money. What was that?
It's not because they don't want to be rich. It's not because they don't want to be rich. It's probably because they basically lose their minds. They have all this money. They start spending it before they even and they want to live a luxurious, rich lifestyle, and they blow it all.
It all goes back to nature. You asked why did the I'm about to explain it. You asked why did the poor stay poor, why did the average stay average, and why did the rich stay rich? Why does nobody break through the cycle? Because people don't want to break through the cycle. Now, the main difference is in the animal kingdom, yeah, you got animals that are literally born to be eaten. I eat salmon every day. I eat the same meal every day. Salmon, white rice, fuchsia sauce, right? Boom. Humans, on the other hand, unlike their animal counterparts, they have free will. So they can decide their fate. They usually use their free will to stay exactly what they are content and complacent with. You can go from being lower class to middle class to upper class. Okay? But most people don't want to do that. Most people, if they're born in the hood, they like being they don't know anything else. So they become comfortable and secure with what it is they already. It's kind of like fucking Toontown, the game we all came from, right? The Toontown motherfuckers. When you told them Toontown was closing, play another game, they were ready to kill you. They were ready to fucking cut your fucking head off. How dare you tell me to move on to something else? I want to be complacent forever, goddammit. It's literally the same thing with everything else.
Well, I mean,
now, the reason the rich stay rich is because to get to that level in the first place, you either have to know somebody or you have to understand natural law. And the people that understand natural law, they teach it to their families from a very young age so that by the time these guys are older, they understand how the universe runs as well, so the rest of their life is easy mode as well.
So teaching natural law to their families. So, okay, why don't you tell me the difference between a family that teaches natural law and a family that doesn't? Maybe this will help to explain what the differences are.
I'll give you a real life example. So this was like my third to last acting job. We were riding in the car. We were going to the place we were supposed to be doing the show at, right? So in the chick you had, one of the actors, who's been doing this since she was a little kid, right? This is all she's ever wanted to do. She posted on her Twitter, "I'm going to quit my job to pursue acting full time." And then when I'm talking to her one-on-one, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble. I need to get a job because acting ain't paying enough." Anyways. Now, shout out, if she sees this video, you know who you are. I don't know if she knows my channel, but shout out to her, right? Anyways, and she comes from a very prominent family. She comes directly from one of the president bloodlines. I'm not going to say which one it is because people that be stalking my Facebook, they're going to be able to tell which chick I'm talking about. But so her and the chick that was driving, they're having a little conversation. I'm just observing nature. I'm just watching. I don't know nothing, right? I'm pretending like I don't know shit. "Hey, so how long have you been doing this?" "Oh, yeah." Now, this surprised me because the chick that was driving, she looked like she was 20 years older than me, but I was older than her. "Yeah, I'm 28. I'm like, oh, wow. "Yeah, I'm 28. Yeah, I just kind of apply to every single role I can get, man. I just kind of throw darts and hope something sticks." She didn't literally say that, but that's how I'm paraphrasing it, right? And that's when the chick that was related to the presidents gave us all the game, but I was the only one that listened. "Yeah, well, my agent said that you should only take roles that elevate you." So, we went and did the show. We killed it, man. We got like $50 tips each, right? Those motherfuckers were rich, right? Boom. So we get back to Baltimore. I told the chick I would drive her home because this was your boy Frizzy making the move. So yeah, I told her I would drive her home. So we continue the conversation. So what were you? So what was that you were saying about how you should only take roles that elevate you? See, I'm making the move and I'm also getting the game, right? But I wanted further verification from what she had said earlier. And she was like, yeah, most people, they make the mistake of, they'll apply for like 20 to 30 different acting roles and they'll kind of be stuck in a circle, when in reality, you should focus on one role that can elevate you and that you can use to get you more better parts, right? And I'm like, thanks. I'm going to make up a random name for her. Thanks, Jing Dong. That was very useful. And then we continue talking and I drop her home. Anyways, that's the difference between somebody who's raised to get it and somebody that doesn't get it. One person is kind of just throwing darts everywhere, hoping something sticks. And the other person from birth has been taught only engage in things, only use your energy and exchange it with things that can make your energy stronger. You see? Which, she's been in TV shows, movies, the whole 9 yards. But acting, you don't make any money in acting, though. So even though she's done all of these things, she don't got no fucking money. Because apparently her president family, or maybe she wants to be independent. I don't know. Maybe that's what that is. But you be the judge. So. Go ahead. It sounded like you had a question.
So I guess the problem is that seems like a very specific situation.
It's not dude, this happens to me on a daily, this is what I'm trying to tell you, bro. It seems like an isolated incident because you're not going out into nature and letting it happen to you. But in reality, this is normal. When you know how to see these people, they become very, visible. They become very apparent.
I just see that as something that you need to prove. And I don't know, I don't see this conversation getting to a point where the truth of natural law could be revealed.
But the thing
because at the end of the day, the disconnect is when we rely on our own individual experiences. Like you said, the anecdote is the strongest form of evidence. I think it's the weakest, and the reason for that is because you want to have geniuses that tell you what to do. You want to have rulers. You want to have bosses. Our mentalities are different. I want to know what the truth is. I seek truth for its own sake.
If you had to pick between being told what to do and learning the truth, what would you pick? Be honest.
Being told what to do and learning the truth? I mean, I'd want to learn the truth, but...
Are you being honest right now? Your hesitation
it would depend on my financial situation. Because like I said, I need to know all the factors. What's the deal? Give me the package deal of all the details of the choice. Because if I need to work a job to pay to live in a house and to eat, then I'm going to work that job, right? But if there's some way that I could start my own business, like I said, I want to start my own studio, recording studio, and do that, then I would love to do that. But I don't know if that's necessarily in the cards. It's very hard to get to do that.
The main reason I told people to see things with their own eyes and to go straight to the source is because when it's proven right in front of your face in everything that you do, every single thing that you do to the point where regular people will think you're insane, then you have the ultimate proof that you need. You say that I need to be able to prove it and we're just not going to agree. Me and you probably won't agree. But how I run my channel is that I specifically target the people that can get it. One guy commented on my video 2 days ago and was like, Chris, I hear your message. I'm unsubbing from every YouTube channel. I'm out of here. Wish me luck. That's what it's about, man. He went out to nature and, you know, hopefully he see, because at the end of the day, we all have different life goals. That's the beauty of it all, right? Because once you learn the truth, then what? This is why most people don't want to know the truth, because it scares them. Then what? Well, shit, now you can fucking take the truth and use it for whatever it is. I like being an Uber driver. And, you know, Uber was on some bullshit. They took away all the bonuses. They took away all the surges. So I had to figure out, how do I make the same amount of money without any of that shit? That's when y'all already know the rest of the story. And I tried to help other people as well, but they got angry at me. They shared my post, but then they started accusing me of being an Uber shill, Charles. They tried to say that I was like paid to make Uber look good, and it was just crazy. But I like being an Uber driver. I like meeting new people. I make very good money meeting new people. And Ubering, I've done 6,000 rides altogether now between Uber and Lyft. Probably another 200 deliveries. I've met probably around 10,000 people from this job alone, and I can tell you right now, this is not a conspiracy. You really do attract what you are. I've met so many people that you would never do. I picked up a fucking passenger, him and his, I don't know if this was his wife or his side chick or his escort, because how they were talking I couldn't really tell. But the chick put his business out there. She's like, man, you make $1.7 million a year and you're worried about your ex-wife getting a few thousand? What's wrong with you? And then the guy was like, it's principle. It's my money. I worked for that shit. She doesn't deserve any of it. So yeah, it's going to cost more in lawyer fees to make sure she gets nothing but his principle. And that is the difference in mentality. That guy makes a $1.7 million a year, but his mentality is so strong that if you're not getting free lunch. Did you read between the lines, Charles? He did not want his ex-wife to get free lunch. And I respect that, man. I respected it. I made like $40 off of that ride. I respect it. You know, I'm not at his level yet in terms of finances, but I respect the mentality. You attract what you are. Strong attracts strong, weak attracts weak. You can be an Uber driver, you can be a fucking waitress, you could be a fucking busboy. You're going to attract what you are. If your energy is weak and you become an Uber driver, you're going to attract a bunch of people from the hood that complain about their baby mothers all day. You know, it is what it is. I think I know what's going to happen. You're going to get curious. You're going to go out into nature. You're going to try to see with your own eyes if this shit is a bunch of magical malarkey or if there's some truth to it. You're going to get curious. I'm
aware of the fact that you can learn tons of things by going out into the world. That's not something that
No. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean. You're going to get curious. You're going to try it out, and hopefully the results that you get are what it is but I mean, you decide what happens to you. So whatever it is you want, you can get as long as you use your free will and you have a strong enough will to make it happen. Do you want to be making $1.7 million a year like that passenger I picked up? Okay, that's too much money. I can feel that's too much money for you, right? Okay, what about 200,000? Is that a good place to start off with, Charles? Okay, what about 50,000? Is that still too much?
All right, wait. Repeat the question. I'm reading chat right now.
I was asking you, right? Like, where is? You say you want to learn the truth. Fuck that shit. Where is your starting point? What truth do you specifically want to know?
I want to be able to write articles. I want to be able to write books. Even I want to know enough things where I can have something to say.
So you want to ascend
That's
above.
what I want.
You want to ascend above the geniuses you used to look up to.
Yeah, sure.
My question for you was this then. If you get to that level, would you be fine with restricting what it is you have to say to people who may not be able to handle the truth?
Restricting. I guess it would depend on what truth exactly. Because I mean, I could say like, oh, the truth is that I don't like you, and I think you're ugly or whatever. But it's like, do I need to speak that out loud? Is that a truth that I need to say? But if there's some deeper truth that corresponds to the way the world works, some broader truth, I'm probably not going to be silencing myself.
And so
it's just a question of whether something's worth saying at all.
So you understand at least some of natural law. You understand that silence and secrecy is very important.
I mean, sure, but secrecy, silence and secrecy in what sense? Because I don't think I would ever have the impulse.
Let's say you
where
came.
I now understand the world, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to keep this to myself because I don't want to give people free lunch. Like, oh, I'm now the wisest person in the world, but I'm choosing not to share my wisdom because I want other people.
It sounds
to work for it the same way that
ridiculous.
I did.
It sounds ridiculous to you right now because of the level that you're at, but as you see how people react when you tell them what is true, you'll eventually become more restrictive of your knowledge as well. When I first started learning all this stuff 13 years ago, man, I wanted to share it with everybody. I very quickly realized that most people just don't. It comes down to whatever people want to know, they can learn it themselves. If they don't even want to learn it themselves, why the fuck are you sharing it with them? Go to Toontown right now and tell Toontown players that drop is better than trap. Somebody will take out a fucking sniper rifle and try to shoot you. They'll try to assassinate you for saying the truth. I made a video because it's all about opinions. No, it isn't. Drop is better than trap, and I made a whole video breaking that down. But if people can't,
I have trap because I like more.
Oh, and there's nothing wrong with that. My first tune Frizzy had trap because at the time I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought trap looked cooler. After I got dropped, when I went back to Corporate Clash, I made sure I had drop. I never, I'll leave off trap before I leave off drop. But this is my point, right? If regular people can't even handle a small truth about a stupid little video game, how the fuck you think they're gonna handle? Let's use a hypothetical. Let's say you were 2,000 years old and you tried to tell somebody that if they disobeyed God, they don't have to die to go to heaven. They can live to be 2,000 like you. They're going to get angry at you. They're going to attack you. You mean all of my family died for nothing? Fuck you. You're going to die now too. It's just no point. That's why if there's people out there that are living that old, that are living that young, their best bet is to shut up, be silent, and not tell anybody, and other than the people that are their age as well. You know? It sounds ridiculous, but you know what I'm talking about. How many fucking confrontations did you see in high school because somebody told somebody the truth about something irrelevant, something minor, you know, and they went ballistic? People tried to cancel me on Toontown because I said that men and women are not the same. Do you remember that, Charles, when they tried to cancel me because I said men and women are not the same? That men and men are women or women?
Men are men and women are women. I remember that situation. We could go deep into this, but I guarantee that we're going to have a lot of
you're not one of those
about.
people that think men and women are... Do you know the difference between tits and the male genitalia?
Well, yeah, I know the biological differences, but...
The natural difference. You see where I'm going with this?
There's a difference between what you're assigned at birth. That's the term that is.
I'ma just be blunt. This is a perfect example of sheep trying to think that the laws of nature don't apply to them. You're naturally a man, woman, or somebody that was born with both, but you don't get to say that the universe itself made a mistake. It just is what it is, right? This is why you can't tell most people the truth. Most people think that the laws of nature don't apply to them, you know? It is what it is. Somebody on Reddit actually DM'd me, right?
When we're talking about this, we're talking about things that are social. Like when we're talking about being a man versus being a woman, we're talking about a lot of gender roles, a lot of cultural things that are built into these words. And
the thing is, right? There's no way to say this without sounding sexist and misogynist, but any man who has a leg count higher than their age, so a man that is very successful with women, they know that women are women and men are men. It's not a social thing. It's not a social construct. It's women are born as women and men are born as men. Women and men do not act the same at all. You know, people always ask me, why was I so good at spotting when there was a real female on Power 101? That's because women talk like women and men talk like men. Just because a man slaps on a wig and starts taking hormones, they don't stop acting like men. No, seriously. Go out and observe nature. Most people that identify as the opposite...
How many trans people are you able to talk to just on your own going around people? I think that...
I know a lot of trans people. That's why I was so surprised. Trannies in real life call each other trannies, but on fucking Toontown, oh my God, he said the T word. That's why I was surprised. But these people don't leave the house. They got a skewed perspective of reality.
I mean, that's the. There are terms that are offensive for other people to use them, but not for them to use them.
But why did they get offended if they're not going to do anything about it? What's the point in getting angry and pissy if they're not even going to do anything about it? Their ancestors of the past at least started a revolution if something pissed them off. But these guys, all they do is go on Twitter and cry. So what's even the point in getting angry?
Well, I mean, you could say there's no point in getting angry, but I mean,
it's unnatural, isn't it?
I don't think it matters.
It's almost like it's unnatural. Aha.
Unnatural in what sense? I mean, Okay, what do you mean when you say unnatural?
Okay, if we took 100 babies and put them on an isolated island and let them grow up with no outside influence, do you think any of those 100 babies will naturally grow up and think that they were born inside the wrong body? Or do you think that's some shit that people only come up with when they got way too much free time on their hands?
I know there's a lot of very interesting stuff relating to trans people in like...
All you gotta do is observe nature. Go look at any isolated tribe that's in existence right now.
What happens in like a hunter-gatherer society, unless you actually lived in one. And even then, when you're observing them, you wouldn't be able to tell what went on in prehistory. Even looking at modern, hunter-gatherer societies and tribal societies, things like that.
Which group of men do you think get more chicks? The men that are emotionally vulnerable and are open-minded about all this trans stuff, or do you think the men that get the most chicks are the men that clearly understand what is natural?
I have no idea. I don't really care.
You should care, because if all of your men became this way and women choose not to reproduce with them because they're not attracted to sensitive little men, and the human population dies out, that's a pretty big problem, right? Although luckily for you, there's always going to be guys like me, so the human population is never going to die out, but you should care.
I mean, there's an entire life. I mean, you have dealt with like the incels and the red pillars, and you know that a lot of them, and they say a lot of nonsense. They say a lot of things that are flat out false. But they also, you look at the majority of them, they're probably going to hate trans people as well. They're probably not going to think that trans people, are like, legitimate.
I mean, I don't care about trans people one way or another. I mean, I worry about me. It's just, whenever I see these people in real life, I don't really have an opinion on them. The whole reason I even brought that up is because in no natural society would you ever see a bunch of human beings sitting around debating about what sex they are. Because in the natural society, they would have way too much shit to be worrying about in the first place. And, most men want to...
There are societies with like gender bending, with things like that. That exists. But the problem is, when you say...
Unless you're talking about a natural...
You aren't meaning anything...
Unless you're talking about a natural hermaphrodite, there isn't any gender bending in human history until recent times. Now, I'm not going to go into what a hermaphrodite is in this video because I'm already mind-fucking people. I don't need to mind. Wait, you mean there's a natural version of a transsexual? Well, yes and no, but I'm not really going to get into all that. If people want to know what hermaphrodites is, they can do their own research there. But in terms of like, I mean, Charles, have you ever wanted to be a woman? Be honest.
No.
And why not?
Not really, no.
How come you don't want to be a woman? Because it seems unnatural,
it's
right?
It's not something that appealing to me.
It seems unnatural, right?
Not unnatural. I mean, sure, yeah.
It's almost like the laws of nature.
I wouldn't say unnatural. I wouldn't say unnatural in the sense of when I say unnatural, I mean natural in the sense of what seems like it would be right for me. I don't mean that. Oh, I was born a man, therefore I'm obligated to remain this way. It's just I don't have any desire to change. And some people do. And for some people, that's a thing. I don't like to use the term innate, but it's something that is felt deeply within them, and after they change their gender, they become a lot happier people.
You think trans people are happier than single-sex people?
No, I think that trans people right now are basically the number one. Public enemy of certain political groups. They get treated like trash. They get a lot of the times kicked out of their own families, shunned by their own friends and the people around them.
So what you're saying is that
what we can find is that people who who have supportive families, people that are able to transition, people that are like these people tend to be.
So what you're saying is that
we're like forced into roles that they don't want to be forced.
So what you're saying is that when you live an unnatural life, there's unnatural consequences that happen to you?
Unnatural consequences? What does that mean?
What does it take for... Matter of fact, I got a better way to answer this. what is the origin of people wanting to become the opposite sex? This is a relatively modern concept, right?
I think that a lot of it has to do with there being real variation in people's personalities, but that don't often correspond with gender roles as we tend to force people into them. And so you might have some guy who decides that he wants to be in a dress, and then decides, and then looks at society that tells him, like, no, you can't do that. You're a dude. And then maybe that's something that would inspire a transition, right?
Or
so you have variability.
Or it could be,
and then you have rigid rules, and then you have variability, and then people decide, okay, I might be happier if I transition, if I go to the other side.
I think the main reason a lot of these guys are miserable is because not all trans people are homosexuals, and if that guy puts on a dress, if that guy puts on a skirt, you know, women are going to say out loud, oh yeah, you go girl, we fully support you, but not a single one of them is going to open their legs to him. So I think that's one of the main reasons a lot of these guys are so miserable, is because, you know, people are lying to them and saying that you can be accepted for whatever you are, but that's not true. If you want to have a family and you're acting like a woman, other women aren't going to want to reproduce with you, generally speaking. Now, if you're trans and homosexual, that's different. You play by a different set of rules, but, you know, a lot of this shunning that you're speaking about is simply women just choosing not to open their legs to, you know, emotionally sensitive guys.
Well, I'm talking about shunning of people who are actually in the process of transition. I'm talking about, like, you have a trans person and, you know, assigned male at birth now is transitioning to being a woman.
They're not assigned a male at birth. They were literally naturally born as a male. Like, I don't understand why.
You're assigned male at birth is just a way of saying that's the way you're born, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way you're going to remain. So
that is the way you're going to remain, because nature always wins. If you were naturally born a man, you're going to stay a man. That's why trans women still act like men. That's why trans people still usually act exactly the way.
Well, I mean, you can have socialization aspects to it, like you know, if someone decides that, like, if someone assigned female at birth, and then in their 20s they decide to transition into being a man, they're a man then, but they had a teenage girl's, you know, childhood.
So let me just ask you a question.
Experiences, and so that would influence what the things that they end up doing, the things that they end up, you know, maybe even believing, just the experiences that they have. And so what you have is, you know, there's going to be some differences.
But why have beliefs when you can just stick to what is true? Why lie to yourself and say that you're a woman when you were born as a man? Like, why even believe you're something different other than what you were naturally born as? Like, what did you get by lying to people and telling them that the laws of nature don't apply to them?
Well, I mean, is there any sort of law of nature that prevents people from deciding to socially transition, to decide that they like the role they were assigned female at birth, but they decide they like the role of being a man more? I don't think there's anything inherently contradictory about that.
A woman is not a man. You know what I'm saying? I proved that on Christmas when, you know, it was me alone with 7 other people. The 2 men of the house ran, and the woman tried to step to me as they were guys, and they learned the hard way that they're not men. No matter, and they saw that firsthand. I'm all man. You step to me like a man, you're gonna get fucking knocked down like a billy club. You know? 5 women in that house saw the hard way that they are not men. And yeah, they were walking around like they were guys. because guys like you probably told them, oh, if you believe you're a man, and not really. The 2 men in the house ran because they didn't want those problems. But the 5 women, they learned the hard way they're women. You know? See, I'm not like Andrew Tate. I'm not like Myron Gaines. If anybody steps up to me, they get knocked down. I don't give a fuck if you're a man, woman, or a hermaphrodite, or a tranny. I don't give a fuck. You know, you want to play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Now, of course, you know, luckily nothing happened because people, you know, their attitudes change very quickly when they see that you're not bowing down to, you know, but everybody else told me I'm a man. Why aren't you afraid of me? Because men have these. See? We produce 20 times the testosterone of a woman. We have these. Women, you know, they got the cha-chas. You feel me? There's very real consequences to living your life in a lie. You know, lying to people and telling them that there's something that they're not, that has very real consequences. One of the main reasons that trans people
What are the
have...
consequences of letting people transit?
I mean, they got the highest suicide rates for a reason.
And that's mostly a product
Plus,
of,
most
of
people...
things like cunning, things like their families mistreating them, things like I mean, what you're doing right now, you're invalidating. That's something that they'll experience all the time from everyone.
What do you mean invalidating them? Me telling them the truth that they were born naturally as a man is invalidating them? Me telling them that the root word of belief is lie and that they're lying to themselves is invalidating them? Me telling them the truth is invalidating them?
It's not lie.
It is a lie, dude. You literally you let it slip, but you just said, but if they believe they're a woman, what's the problem? Root word of belief is lie. So lying to themselves is a serious problem.
The root word of belief is not lie. That is not where that comes from. That's not
that is where that comes from. I did a whole video breaking it down.
Yeah, I saw it, but that's not the origin of the word belief.
That is the origin of the word belief. I broke it down thoroughly.
Okay,
you think otherwise because your whole argument, this entire debate is theory, scientific theory.
And this is the problem. And this is the problem when we're talking about like just observe nature, because people see the things that they want to see. So you see the word believe, and then you see L-I-E. Oh, that's in the middle of the word. That must mean that this must mean that there's a sign that every time.
I gave a second example as well. Lig. In that same video, lig, Latin verb that means to lie, hence why the Pope wears a ring that says legere, which literally means to lie to you.
Is that what the word actually means?
Yes. But see, you didn't actually thoroughly research that video. You just heard what I said and dismissed it as false because it contradicts with your core beliefs. So you didn't want to think that there was any validity to it, because your whole the 3 hours we spent.
I looked at the etymology of belief. It comes from some Germanic word that it's like.
You do know Latin is older than German. No, I got you. Checkmate. You done fucked up. I got you. Checkmate. The whole video, I broke it down from its Latin origin. Latin is older than German. But you're talking about a German origin when Latin is older? You fucked up, buddy. Checkmate. Coup de grace. That's a French word, coup de grace. Yeah, I got you down, buddy.
It's not. Alright, break it down for me.
What? Did I leave?
What are the origins?
English words.
What is the origin?
English
What are the Latin origins? Trace it back.
I'm getting to that. English words, for the most part, have one of two origins: Greek or Latin, and or both. Lie specifically originates from lig. Lie and lig, they both mean to lie. They both mean to bond. Why? Because the lie is what's bonding you. That's why belief, be-lie-eth, okay? The prefix be means to repeat. The suffix shun, which is used in religion, same prefix, be, repeats, repeating a lie anew. It's the same in Latin. It's the same in English. It's the same. Hold on, because I speak multiple languages. It's the same in Latin. It's the same in English. It's the same in Japanese. Because I know what you're about to say, because I've heard over 1,000 literally. I came prepared, buddy. I've heard over 1,000 different people say what you're about to say. Oh, but Christopher, what about the words of languages on the other side of the world that don't have a Latin origin? That's why husband in Japanese and English mean the exact same thing. That's why belief in Japanese and English mean the exact same thing. Because... and I'm going to deliver the coup de grace here. I'm going to reel you back in. All languages are just small variants of the ultimate language, natural law. It's all fucking connected. That's why, see, people got this misconception where they look at different languages as like a stack of Legos that you can isolate and separate them into different categories, not realizing that all languages have roots of the same origin. And I was skeptical of this because I first heard this when I was 17.
Right here. So the word belief seemed to be just an alteration of an old English word, jelifa.
That's what I just said. All words are just newer variants of already existing words. Yes, that's literally what I just said. You're starting to get it.
But that doesn't mean that you can pick words out of the middle and say, okay, this has lie in it, therefore be live.
Okay, hold on. We'll use the literal definition. The literal definition of the word belief is defined as a substitution for the truth. Why the fuck do you need a substitution when you can just go and get the truth?
When a substitution for the truth, you have to believe something in order for you to know it. Like,
that's not true. What? What? No. Hold. Let me give a real life example.
A precondition for knowledge is true belief.
No. Listen, man. When I beat the track captain in 10th grade, Anthony, shout out to Anthony. When I beat him my 10th grade year, I did not believe I could ever beat this guy. But then I fucking beat him at city championships, and I'm just like, oh shit, that just happened. Now, he was not at 100%. He did injure himself during the race, but at no point in 10th grade did I ever think I could beat the captain at city championships. And then when it happened, it's just like, oh, so no, you don't need to believe something for it to become true later. That is a crock of bullshit. That's some crap that people... Nah, I don't know where you heard that, buddy, but no, man, you don't gotta believe in something in order to make it happen.
It's the classical definition of knowledge that you learn in like your first class of philosophy.
Isn't philosophy an entire class that's based off of opinions?
It's justified true belief.
But isn't philosophy isn't philosophy an entire class that's based off of beliefs, opinions, theories, and things that aren't true?
Well, I mean, you can. I would love to see your philosophy.
I don't have any philosophy. Why would I have a philosophy when I can just go and learn the truth? I don't have a philosophy because I don't care.
Well, that's exactly the point. Philosophy deals with how to know the truth. You have a particular philosophy. You believe in natural law. You believe that the world.
Natural law isn't a belief. Natural law isn't a belief. If you were born a man, you are a man. Anything else is a lie.
Not if you can transition. Again, this is the point. You have a biological reality, and then you have a social reality.
You have what is natural.
A biological reality is you might have someone who's born with XY chromosomes, and they'll have that for the rest of their life.
Would you fuck a
Social reality might be you have someone who
would you have sex with a
decides
transsexual?
to transition, and that's perfectly fine.
Would you have sex with a? Hold on. We're about to prove if you really believe this or not. Would you have sex with a transsexual?
Not sure.
So
and here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. There have actually been studies that were done. I know you don't like those.
I know more studies than you do, funny enough, but I'll go ahead and entertain your narrative that I'm some barbarian that doesn't know any studies, but go ahead.
Where there was a study that was done where they took, I don't even know if it was a study, if it was just like...
so you don't even know.
Article. I read the article, I don't know if it was published in a paper, I don't know if it was published in a journal.
Alright, so...
What they did was they looked at the how much trans porn was watched in on straight porn websites compared to gay porn websites, and what they found is that straight men watched it a lot more than gay men.
Because those men aren't straight. People lie about their sexuality all the time. One of my last girlfriends was a lesbian, but she's dating me, a guy. So people lie about their sexualities all the time. I mean, you know, a chick that I call on a regular basis, she says she's a lesbian, but she lost her virginity to a guy. So it's people lie about their sexualities all the time.
Some people can be dishonest, but you can look at the aggregates. You can look and see.
Most people are dishonest.
On a gay website, doesn't get as much views as a trans porn on a straight website. You can tell what's going on there. Many men are attracted to trans women.
Because most men aren't straight. Most men are bisexual. That's why we're called Homo sapiens in the first place. Homo sapien. Most men lie about their sexuality due to religious reasons or cultural reasons.
Wait, how does Homo sapiens tie into this?
I'm done. Alright. I mean, this guy wants to make fun of me for not. He thinks I don't.
This is the point. You saw homo and then you saw homosexual. This is the thing. You look at the surface level and then you.
That's what you do. You admitted yourself. You didn't even do research on the video. You just saw that me saying belief means lie contradicts your beliefs. So you dismissed it. You didn't do any research beyond that. You admitted that yourself on video. That's what you do. What are you philosophy people say?
I didn't watch the entire video.
There you go. So you're talking out of that. There you go. Checkmate. So you literally just admitted you did what you tried to accuse me of doing. You saw the video at a surface level and you didn't do any research beyond that. What do you philosophy people say? You're projecting. You're projecting.
Do you know what homo means? It just means the same.
Yes, dude. Yes, that's why a homosexual is somebody who has sexual attraction to the same thing as them, a male or female. Exactly. For whatever reason, we made up a new word for woman, lesbian, but whatever. Homosexual can be a woman as well. But yeah, most people, and the reason human beings are called Homo sapiens, I'm going to give you some free lunch real quick because this is something you'll never learn in the study. Inside the human body, we have a self-reproducing amoeba. This is where we evolved from. If you believe in gods, I'm sorry that I'm contradicting your beliefs, but we evolved from a self-reproducing amoeba. This amoeba was, you could call it a, what do you call a self-reproducing cell? Not hermaphrodite, but like in the cell process. Some plants do this as well. I can't fucking think of it off the top of my head. But, you know, that's why humans are called Homo sapiens, because we originated from this same self-reproducing amoeba. Now, the thing about your sexual attraction, and here's the real reason people lie about their sexuality, is because an attraction to either a woman or a man or hermaphrodite, that is a free will choice, but its origins are in your DNA due to that amoeba. So the more you use your free will to focus on that attraction, the stronger it gets. The reason most people lie about what they are is because they don't want to admit that they're using their free will to get turned on by transsexual porn. They'd rather have people in real life have no idea at all because, yeah, they'll get disinherited, they'll get kicked out of their family. There's a lot of social stigma still around admitting that you're attracted to the same sex. So, no, I didn't just look at Homo sapien and whatever the fuck you said. That's what you did because you just admitted you saw my video and then you didn't even what you philosophy people say is projecting. I think that's the term when you project what you're doing onto somebody else. Yeah. And yeah, what Shuffy said is already in your genes, but what was that?
The video that I saw didn't actually go into any detail about where the Latin origins came from. I just looked it up right after. I saw the video where you mentioned the root word of belief is lie, and I saw something completely different that had nothing to do with it.
Listen, man, you admitted that you didn't even watch the video, so I mean, I think this debate has ran its course. You basically are trying to accuse me of what you do about how you see something at face value, and then you don't even finish the video in the first place or do any real like you talk about all these studies.
I finished whatever video I was watching.
Okay, well you talk about all these studies.
I haven't seen all your videos, but I've seen you mention multiple times the root word of belief is lie, and I have never found any corroboration of that. Whenever I look it up,
because you don't look, because you don't want to, because I see what kind of guy you are. You want to have beliefs. You want to believe that it's okay to lie to people and tell them that they're born something that they're not. You know, if you're naturally born as a male, you want to believe it's okay to lie to people and say that even though they have a dick, they don't. You know, so yeah. I think this debate served its purpose. The main reason you think natural law contradicts scientific theory is because you don't actually want to understand natural law. You think the laws of nature don't apply to you. You think that there's no consequences for lying to people. You think there's no consequences for telling people that they can just pick whatever sex or animal they want to be born as, even though they're already born as a human, a male human. So, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll give my closing thoughts. I think the problem with your philosophy of observing nature is that it doesn't account for things like human biases.
You should Google what the word philosophy means.
You have beliefs. You have a philosophy.
I don't have any beliefs. Nothing I told you was a belief.
Yes, you do. When you say something like the world is simple, that's not something that you could possibly know. That's a belief. That is a philosophy. That is a philosophical position. The philosophical position that you're always talking about Einstein.
And let me give you an Einstein quote, okay? I hope this doesn't offend you. Wise people simplify complex things. Stupid people complicate simple things. A quote straight from Einstein. Since you think I don't know any studies.
And the question is whether or not the entirety of the human experience is simple, and it isn't. It is not.
It's pretty simple.
So yes, in an ideal world, we can if we were to understand everything that goes into what makes people the way they are, what makes human social organizations and political systems the way they are, then we could start to simplify. But right now, we're at a point where we barely even scratch the surface, and we need to understand all of the nuances and the complexities, and then we can start to simplify after.
So what has understanding all these nuances and complicate, what has all of this done for your everyday life? Do you have anything to show for it, or nothing at all?
It's something that I do just for its own sake. Knowledge for its own sake.
So
So I guess that's basically it. You need, if you want to know the truth, here's what you need.
But I know more of the truth than you, though. So how are you going to tell me what I need to do to know the truth when I know more of it than you? And that's apparent.
Okay, not you, just like humanity in general. If you want a good method to find the truth, what you need is a reproducible and reliable way of disproving false ideas. You need some way for beliefs to actually have a reality check. You need to be able to test them.
Or
you need to avoid over-interpreting coincidences and assigning meaning to random words and random events.
Or you can abandon all your beliefs, you can abandon all your opinions, you can abandon all your philosophies and all your ideologies and only focus on what is true. 2 + 2 equals 4. That is true. No philosophy, no beliefs, no opinions needed. Don DeMarco.
If you have two people, two scientists, here's the problem. If you have a person with a belief, a bias, and they go and observe the world, they're going to find stuff that coincides with what they believe. But if you have scientists who might have different beliefs, they can debate each other, and they actually have ways where you can actually find things that are true and things that are false. You can have real debate. So what you want, I have just prerequisites for good methods of finding truth.
But you don't care about truth. You have beliefs. You, by your own admission, you'd rather have beliefs than truth.
Belief is just a position you hold.
A false position,
so
because belief is literally defined as
I believe that 2 + 2 equals 4, and I know that to be the case.
A belief is defined. I know you don't like learning what words actually mean, but a belief is defined as a substitution for the truth. If you have the truth, you don't need a substitution.
A belief is just a position you hold. You can believe something.
That's not truth. I'm telling you what the do I need to grab a fucking dictionary? You're trying to invent a new meaning for a word. That's not what belief means.
Well, this is the belief that you hear in an introductory philosophy class.
Your philosophy teacher either is lying to you on purpose because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, or he accidentally is telling you an incorrect definition of the word. If you open the dictionary right now, this crap you're saying about how a belief is something you hold, listen, a belief is defined as a substitution for the truth. It's crazy how, why did you listen to your philosophy teacher without fact checking them?
My philosophy teacher about fact checking?
Why didn't you fact check your philosophy teacher when he told you an incorrect definition for the word? Or because you like being told what to do, did you just kind of blindly, accept what the guy in authority was telling you?
Well, the point is that we got some basic understanding of the debates around the words knowledge and belief. And
how did he give you understanding if he just told you?
The point is ambiguity. The point is ambiguity. There's ambiguity about the meaning of the word knowledge.
You don't even know what ambiguity. No. Listen, bro. You gotta stop using words that you don't know what. You need to go back to reading elementary school books. I'm not saying this to be a dick, but if you don't even know what the word belief means, your whole structure for trying to find out more information is corrupted. You seem to think that you can have both beliefs and the truth, and you can't. You have to pick one. But
you can believe things that are true. That is a perfectly possible thing to do. Yes.
No, because I'm
defining knowledge as a subset of belief.
You see what he just said, guys?
This is a very common thing to do.
Did y'all hear what he just said, guys? What I define. He's one of those guys. My truth.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's how language works.
No, it isn't. All right. So the truth always comes out in the end. And I think this debate served its purpose. So, yeah. Natural law versus scientific theory doesn't contradict unless one person thinks that beliefs are the same as what is true. So, yeah. I'll catch you guys in the next video. And, yeah, this was a fun little debate. Hey, Mr. Charles.
Yep. It was good. Nice to talk to you. I've been following your stuff since, God, 2010, 11, I don't even know.
To be perfectly honest, I don't know why you follow my stuff when I clearly say the opposite of what you think. You think that you can you think that nature is incorrect. You think that nature makes a mistake when somebody is born a man and that man can choose.
I don't think that nature makes mistakes. I think that there are cultural realities to these things that you're not accounting for.
Culture.
And I also think that,
the reason I don't account for it is because culture doesn't matter. Opinions don't matter. Beliefs don't matter. Philosophy doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the truth. That's why I don't count these things. So.
Alright, well, I think that's all beyond the scope of this conversation. I gotta eat.
Yep, likewise. I'm gonna order me some KFC. Yeah. Alright, catch you later. I'm gonna read some of these comments before I get off, because it seems like there's an argument going on in the chat. See what these guys are talking about. Keshav, the reason...
a good one.
Yep, catch you later. Keshav. The reason that anecdotal evidence is the strongest form of evidence is because I'm going to give you a real life example, okay? I stopped working out completely, which is apparent. My muscles are smaller than they were before, and I'm not nearly as lean. So I stopped working out. You know what I'm saying? I had $0 in my bank account. I was still getting chicks. The red pillars say ridiculous stuff like you need looks, money, and status to get women. And if you try to tell people that this is bullshit, nobody's going to listen to you. But if you go out and you get anecdotal evidence and see the truth with your own eyes, when you're that guy with no money, looks, and status getting women, nobody can tell you that you're wrong because you've seen the truth with your own eyes. We've been taught since birth that anecdotal evidence is weak because anecdotal evidence actually shows you what the fuck is going on. So, but I'll get into that in another video. Let me read some more of these comments. And yeah, I mean, the topic kind of got derailed slightly, but when you let people talk long enough, they eventually show you what their real intentions are. I mean, the dude admitted, he tried to say that all I do is I just take something and then I fucking, without doing any research, I come to this random conclusion. Oh, homo. He thinks homo means homo, or he thinks belief means lie because lie is in the middle, and then he fucking admitted he did that himself. He didn't even watch the video, so he didn't even see my breakdown. But to wrap this up, well, the thing is, Nick, the only reason I even did this debate is because I wanted to show this type of person live, because people always think I'm exaggerating. But if you guys see this shit with your own eyes, you can really see that, yes, you have people out there that believe their own personal beliefs trump the laws of the universe itself. The dude literally said that a person can pick their sex because nature made them like it, dude. So you really shouldn't even be arguing with people in the first place. But I only did this so you guys could see a live example of what's really going on these days, man. Like, don't argue with people in the first place. You know, use your free will to find the truth and then attract other people that know the truth, and you don't need to argue with anybody in the first place. You know, if you guys have paid attention in my most recent videos, I've almost never argued with people anymore. So, And I think Discord just kicked me off because, yeah. Let me see what my chat is saying. Oh yeah, they're just watching the debate. But I'm gonna make a video where I talk about why anecdotal evidence is the strongest evidence, because there are things in this world that you can only see with your own eyes. You're never gonna see it on Google. You're never gonna see it on TV. You know, it's the people that get it, get it. People greatly underestimate exactly how much shit is hidden from them. So let me read a couple more of these comments and I'm gonna get out of here. Chris, you would sound a lot more reasonable if you weren't so concerned with being right all the time. If I'm wrong, stop watching my videos. Like, what you guys don't seem to understand is that I understood how things are a long time ago. I'm not looking for an agreement. I'm living good right now. My life is easy mode right now. All I'm trying to do is show other people how they can get into easy mode too. It's not about being right or wrong. If you think I'm wrong, stop watching my videos. I'm not looking for an agreement. You know, I have videos on my channel where I have admitted to being wrong in the past. But I know for a fact I'm not wrong about this. I know for a fact that the root word of belief, that belief means lies intentionally. This was not some shit. You guys have got to stop thinking that the people that rule over you just do things randomly out of... No, this shit, they design all of this in stages, man. From the words that you use to the clothes that you wear, from the TV shows you watch, it's all designed to lead you away from what is natural so that you never see what is actually true. Scientific evidence, okay. Listen to these stupid red pillars then, Mr. Keshav. If you think scientific evidence is stronger, then go get some looks, money, and status, okay? Go get a gold digger. Go get a gold digger wife using your looks, money, and status, and then when the broke guy that has no money in his bank account, you know, has sex with your woman and reproduces some twins that aren't yours, you know, you tell me which was stronger, scientific evidence or natural law. Nature always wins. And the strongest, what you guys don't understand is that science is literally derived from nature. Scientific theory was literally derived from nature. But neither are you, Keshav. You don't even know what scientific means. Science is all about theories and opinions and debates, but natural law actually shows you what is actually true. When you go out into nature and you see the truth with your own eyes, how can any science motherfucker debate that? You get what I'm saying? I accidentally ate a whole fucking dish of poison when I was a teenager because I had some ant poison sitting right beside me and I was spraying the ants. I accidentally sprayed it all on my food. So I'm eating it and I'm like, oh shit, wait a minute. I'm eating ant poison. Fuck it, I'm committed now. I might as well keep eating the shit. I ate the shit, nothing happened. So, but the sciencey motherfuckers will tell you, oh, if you eat a whole plate of poison, you're gonna die. But that's not true. The fucking Tylenol, by the way, is this shit on camera? The fucking Tylenol bottles say that if you take more than 8 of these at once, you're gonna die, and that's not true. I've had days where I've been on some junkie mode, man. I popped like 10 of these once. Because I was having some bad bowel movements, but I had to keep working. So I popped like 10 of these. Hold on, the camera doesn't want me to show this. I popped like 10 of these so I could keep working. And it tells you if you take more than 6, you're going to die. But that's not true. And that's anecdotal evidence directly proving the science motherfucker's wrong. That's all I'm saying, bro. I do this shit every fucking day, man. I do all kinds of shit that proves that science crap wrong. That's why, Mr. Keshav, whatever you observe, you have to apply to your own everyday life. What you and the guy I just debated don't seem to comprehend is that there's 15-year-olds that are more intelligent than you. 15-year-olds that have less observational experience than you, but because they learned their lesson the first time they saw it, while you never learned your lesson the 10th or 20th time you saw it, you know, that creates the difference. You know, obviously you have to do more than just observe nature. You have to take what you observe and apply it to your everyday life. Yeah, Mr. Solomon, my immunity, dude. That's why do you think I was telling those Toontown guys when they kept trying to argue with me about vaccines? I'll show my blood work, you show your blood work. Yeah, my immunity strong as a motherfucker. Because instead of listening to a bunch of science motherfuckers saying, oh, if you do this or that, it's going to kill you, I fucking, use anecdotal evidence to verify, no, this shit won't fucking kill you. So, yeah, let me read some more comments because I gotta get up and cracking as well. Some guys arguing about Attack on Titan. Apparently Travis pinged me in the chat. What up, Travis? Didn't see you until now. But yeah, man. Truth doesn't contradict. You can't say science says this, and then I give you an anecdotal example that directly proves it wrong, and then you say, oh, that's just an exception to the rule. It's not an exception to the rule. Your scientific theory, again, theory. You're not saying scientific truth. You're not saying scientific correct information. You're saying scientific theory because it's a fucking theory. When you go straight to nature, when you go straight to the source, you see with your own eyes exactly what is true. So no, Mr. Keshav, it's not me trying to be right all the time. It's you people coming at me with half-assed arguments, and then when I prove you wrong, it bothers you. I mean, for fuck's sake, we literally just had a guy try to fucking spend the last 30 minutes talking about how he believes that you can pick your own sex, for fuck's sakes. Where's the scientific theory in that, man? But yeah. But I tell you what, Mr. Keshav, I really got to get out of here. So, Mr. Keshav, if you want to have a debate next, you can post your Discord, and everything that you claim that I'm wrong about, you can go ahead and try to prove me wrong in another debate. This guy did a poor job of it. So yeah, if you want to have a debate, Mr. Keshav, where you argue that science is superior to nature, even though science is directly derived from nature, we can go ahead and here we go. That stupid peer review. Listen, man. You people have got to get off of Google and go to the, see, he knows better. He doesn't want to debate that because he knows what's going to happen. The people that get it, get it. The people that don't probably never will. You have to go out into the real world and see how things really are. The shit you read on Google, the shit you read on the internet is not the way things actually are. But yeah, that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. This has been fun. Hopefully, more than proved my point by now.